Part 17. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 161. Failed again. Looking at the golden talent entry that was finally synthesized on the synthesis interface, Yagami Ryuzyuk shook his head. After choosing not to accept the result, he exited the synthesis interface directly. There was no way, he had finally recorded something in the past 2 days. The experience points have been used up again. Just keep waiting, I don't believe we can't synthesize a god-level entry. Ryusuke Yagami is not in a hurry. He has plenty of time and can take his time. But some people can't wait any longer. From the Uchiha clan. Sasuke knelt in front of his parents' memorial tablets, lowered his head, and was crying. Due to his own incompetence, he could not avenge his parents. After waiting for a while, Sasuke wiped away his tears and stood up to prepare to practice. But when he turned around, he saw a person standing behind him. "It's you." Sasuke recognized the other person. Although the other person changed his clothes, his mask remained the same as before. So Sasuke recognized the person in front of him at a glance as Menma Uchiha, who appeared during the Konoha collapse plan. "Didn't it bother you to cry?" Uchiha Menma said with a smile. When Sasuke heard this, his face turned dark instantly. Damn it! His most vulnerable side was actually seen by this guy. Damn it! This damn peeping Tom! Sasuke cursed in his heart, while darkening face asked, "What are you doing here?" "Let me tell you first, I will not listen to you and become a fertility machine." When Uchiha Menma heard this, he burst out laughing. "You kid, you still remember what you said back then?" he said with a smile. Sasuke looked at this guy with a dark face and said 753 fiercely. How could he not remember? What happened that day, he will never forget in his life. "Don't worry, I'm not here today to advise you to be a fertility machine," Uchiha Menma said. Hearing this, Sasuke also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay. He doesn't want to become the kind of man who doesn't want to make progress and only knows how to spend his energy on women. Speaking of this, Sasuke couldn't help but this reminds me of Yagami Ryusuke. This guy obviously has to accompany so many girlfriends all day long, but why is he still so strong? Damn it! Is this the real genius, and I, Uchiha Sasuke, have always been a pseudo-genius? Sasuke couldn't help but feel a little suspicious of life. At this moment, "Sasuke, I met Uchiha Itachi." "What?" Sasuke, who was doubting his life just now, immediately changed his face when he heard the name Uchiha Itachi, showing an expression of extreme hatred. "Where did you see him?" Sasuke asked eagerly. "Akatsuki Organization, have you heard of this organization?" Uchiha Menma asked. Sasuke shook his head. How could he have heard of the Akatsuki Organization? He even left the village a very limited number of times. The range of activities was basically in an area near the village, and the farthest one it was the same time he went to the country of waves before. There was nothing else. So, he really had never heard of the Akatsuki Organization. "I was invited to join this organization some time ago, and then I saw Uchiha Itachi in the base of the Akatsuki Organization," Uchiha Menma said. "So you and Uchiha Itachi are now in the same organization?" Sasuke looked at the other person warily. "Don't show this expression. If I really want to do something to you, do you think you can run away?" Uchiha Menma sneered and said. Sasuke's face was dark, but he had to admit that what the other party said was the truth. With the strength gap between them, it is really impossible for him to escape. Even if this is Konoha. "So what do you want to say?" Sasuke asked. "How long do you think it will take for you to become as strong as Itachi Uchiha if you continue to stay in Konoha?" Uchiha Menma asked without answering. "I remember you told me very firmly at the beginning that you would never give up avenging Uchiha's dead souls in this life, But now do you think you can do it? Hearing this, Sasuke couldn't help but clenched his fists. Because he knew what Menma Uchiha said was true. If he continued to waste time in the village, he would only waste more time. Not to mention killing Uchiha Itachi. Avenging the dead souls of Uchiha, even if it is barely a draw, it is impossible to achieve. Do you want to help me? Sasuke is not stupid, on the contrary, he is actually very smart. So when he heard Uchiha Menma mention this, he immediately realized that this fellow Uchiha clan member was going to help him. Although Sasuke didn't know what it was. The other party changed his mind. But when he thought of the other party's strength, Sasuke couldn't help but tremble with excitement. As long as there is Uchiha Menma in front of him to help, the revenge of their Uchiha clan can definitely be avenged. Don't think too much, I won't help you deal with Uchiha Itachi. After all, that is your hatred and has nothing to do with me. Menma Uchiha said calmly, however, I do admire this boy like you. You have a good talent. You have activated the double Megatama at a young age. Your character is tough enough and you are willing to endure hardships. Sasuke looked at each other with bright eyes. Therefore, I plan to accept you as my disciple, but I don't know if you are willing to leave Konoha. Uchiha Menma finished speaking and looked at Sasuke in front of him. I do. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, Sasuke in front of him couldn't wait to agree. Of course he is willing to leave Konoha. For revenge, he is willing to pay any price. It's just leaving the village. This is nothing. You sure? Uchiha Menma looked at him and said, you have to know that once you leave Konoha, it means you will become a traitor, and you will never be able to see your good friend Uzumaki Naruto again. You may even become enemies. Even so, do you still want to follow me? Naruto. When Sasuke thought of Naruto, he hesitated slightly. But soon he thought of what Naruto said before. No. Naruto will understand my choice. Sasuke said firmly. If it were others, Sasuke felt that they would not be able to understand. But if it was Naruto, Sasuke felt that he would definitely understand why he did what he did. Haha. You are quite confident. Uchiha Menma chuckled a few times and said, okay, now that you have decided, you can make preparations in the next few days. I will pick you up in a few days. By the way, if you see Uchiha Itachi in the Akatsuki organization in the future, don't rush forward without overestimating your capabilities. Your current strength is too weak. Sasuke gritted his teeth and nodded. Compared to the original Uchiha Sasuke who only knew how to rush forward blindly, regardless of the strength gap between the two sides. Obviously, the Sasuke in front of him is much more mature. His way of thinking about problems is also better than that of the original Sasuke. More rational. Of course. To say that it can be done now is just a lip service. Can it be done in detail? It still depends on whether Uchiha Itachi can remain calm enough when he really appears in front of Sasuke, to read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. 2 days later. The ceremony for Tsunade to succeed the 5th Hokage was also held in the village. Almost all the ninjas at the scene came, and there were countless villagers outside. They shouted Tsunade's name, and some even held up banners that read Return of the Thousand Hands, Invincible. These words. The eyelids of Koharu and Mito Minion, who were also standing on the high platform, were watching. He became more and more determined in his heart that he must not let the Thousand Hands clan rise again. Now it's just Tsunade becoming Hokage. Then if Ryusuke Yagamai really spreads his influence in the village and even restores the Senju surname, will it be okay then? Ryusuke Yagamai can't stay. The two of them have almost the same idea. But how to get rid of Ryusuke Yagamai is still a problem. Direct assassination? Sorry. They don't have the strength. Spread rumors to cause trouble? Use public opinion to force Ryusuke Yagamai to death? Don't talk about them. Is there any chance that Tsunade, the Hokage, can play such a trick under the nose of the Hokage? Even if there is, Yagami Ryosuke doesn't look like someone like Hatake Sakumo who will be forced to death by a few words. So, this method doesn't work either. So what should we do? The two old guys thought hard and killed an unknown number of their few brain cells. Finally, they came up with an idea. That is to use people from other villages to kill people with borrowed knives. Didn't Tsunade want to announce Ryosuke Yagami's identity as a member of the Senju clan? She also wanted to announce that he had awakened the wood release, trying to make Ryosuke Yagami the second legendary figure like her grandfather. Then they can help a bunch of Tsunade. They not only want to promote Yagami Ryosuke's wood release and Senju bloodline in the village, but they also want to spread the news throughout the ninja world. When the time comes, will those ninja villages that were once dominated by Senju Hashirama's wood release watch the second Senju Hashirama rise? They can't. Therefore, they will definitely try their best to kill Ryosuke Yagami, the successor of wood release. At that time, Mito Kato and Koharu don't have to do anything, just watch, and Ryosuke Yagami will be completely finished. After all, there is a huge difference between the awakened wood release and the wood release between Senju Pillar. They didn't believe that Yagami Ryosuke, who had just awakened wood release, could possess power far beyond cage level, catching up to the first generation. And if he only had ordinary cage level strength, he would never survive the assassinations from the major ninja villages. And at the same time, they can also post bounties in underground money exchanges. They have also made a lot of money over the years. Even if you only take out a small part of it, it is still a huge sum of money. As the saying goes, money moves people's hearts. I believe that with the high reward, someone will definitely come forward to accept the reward mission and assassinate Ryosuke Yagami. When the time comes, not only the ninja villages of the 4 major countries will kill him. Even those rebellious ninjas would want to kill him. Thinking of how Yagami Ryosuke was yelled at and beaten like a rat crossing the street at that time, the two Hokage advisors couldn't help laughing. On the side, Jiraiya, who was originally watching Tsunade stand on the stage to speak, suddenly saw Mito Kato and Koharu who were standing aside suddenly laughing inexplicably. The key is that he still smiles like he deserves a beating. This made Jiraiya look confused. I don't understand what funny thing these two Hokage consultants thought of, so they laughed like this. On the high platform, Ryosuke Yagami listened to Tsunade's inaugural speech with some boredom. After finally waiting for Tsunade to finish speaking, Yagami Ryosuke thought the ceremony was about to end and he could leave. As a result, Tsunade suddenly looked in his direction and waved him over. Helpless, Ryosuke Yagami could only walk over. He knew what Tsunade was going to do, but he didn't expect that Tsunade would want to announce it today. She really didn't care that he stole her limelight. Ryosuke Yagami thought to himself. However, it can be seen that Tsunade does sincerely regard him as one of her own. I believe you all know the person next to me, right? Tsunade took Yagami Ryosuke's hand and asked him to stand next to her. Lord Yagami, great hero. The hero who saved Konoha. Konoha death. The people below shouted, most of them calling for a great hero. But some people shouted Ryosuke Yagami's nickname in the ninja world, Konoha Death God. This nickname was passed on to him by those in Tsunagakure. Didn't Tsunagakure come to Konoha to negotiate last time? After the two parties discussed it, Tsunagakure gave a certain amount of compensation, and then went back with Maki and others who were under house arrest. After Maki and the others returned to Tsunagakure, some things about the Konoha collapse plan spread in the ninja world that day. The most eye-catching one is Yagami Ryosuke, the Konoha death god in Tsunagakure's mouth. The 12-year-old class. He is good at swordsmanship and physical skills, and possesses a secret shadow technique that kills people invisible. These are all information about Ryosuke Yagami. Ryosuke Yagami didn't care that Tsunagakure leaked information about him. Anyway, that's just a hint of his true strength. Fencing. That's just his weakest aspect. Taijutsu is quite strong, but Ryosuke Yagamai has never shown it before, it was only at an average kage level. The shadow secret technique is just one of Ryosuke Yagamai's many methods. It's not the strongest one, it's just that it's weirder. But there are quite a lot of weaknesses, and they can be easily targeted. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 163. Not only that, Ryosuke also awakened my great-grandfather's Mudun. He is the successor of my great-grandfather's Mudun, and he is also the hope of our future in Konoha. Tsunade can be said to have given up all the limelight opportunities to Ryosuke Yagamai. Today is obviously the day when she takes office as Hokage. But at this moment, Tsunade announced that Ryosuke Yagamai has the blood of Senju and has awakened. After seeing the first Hokage SWOD release, everyone's attention fell on Ryosuke Yagamai. It was as if she, the Hokage, was just a foil. But Tsunade didn't care at all. Instead, she very happy. I haven't seen Tsunade-sama smiling so happily for a long time. Shizuan, who was holding Dodo next to her, looked at Tsunade with a happy smile on her face and said sincerely. Jiraiya also nodded. In his memory, the last time Tsunade smiled so naturally and happily, still there, how many years ago did you come? Jiraiya scratched his head in annoyance and found that his memory was really getting worse. Is it really because of my old age? It seems that the old man was like this before. While Jiraiya was lost in thought recalling the past, those people who were shocked when they heard the big news announced by Tsunade also let out exclamations like a mountain roaring and a tsunami. Oh my god! Lord Yagamai has awakened Mudun. That's wood release. It's the wood escape that the first Hokage used to calm down the troubled times. By the way, is Mudun that strong? What are you so excited about? Idiot! What do you guys know? That is the Mudun of the first generation of adults. Do you know the value of the 4 words first generation of adults? You young ninjas really don't know anything. I saw the first generation with my own eyes back then. Let's talk about something funny. The ninja school textbooks describe the 3rd generation as the strongest Hokage, haha. SHH. Don't talk nonsense. The 3rd generation is also a great Hokage. Those textbooks must have been written by people who want to flatter you. Haha. Who knows? With the news announced by Tsunade, everyone around was shocked. Some people who didn't understand the value of wood escape were also well educated by the seniors around them, and they suddenly showed expressions of enlightenment. But just now the ninja clan leaders who had been surprised once were also shocked again. If the Senju bloodline only represents the prestige and connections of the Senju clan, then Mudun is the Senju clan. The power of Senju Hashirama is reflected. The reason why Senju Hashirama, the first Hokage, was able to calm down the troubled times in the past was because of his wood release. And now, there is actually another young man with Senju bloodline who has awakened wood release. Escape. Will Yagamai Ryosuke become the second Senju Hashirama? Many people are starting to get excited. But Narashikaku couldn't help frowning. It's not that he doesn't like Yagamai Ryosuke. It's just that I'm just a little worried. After all, the power of wood release is obvious to all. Although Ryosuke Yagamai doesn't have only one wood release in Konoha, the other wood release is a defective and degraded version. It's impossible to compete with him at all. On par with real wood escape. If Yagamai Ryosuke's wood escape is really like the first Hokage Sojin, then things will be serious. I still have to ask Tsunade-sama after this matter is over. Narashikaku thought. If this matter is not handled well, it may lead to the outbreak of the 4th Ninja War. After all, if he were to put himself in his shoes, if he were the shadow of the ninja village of the other 4 countries, what would he do? Is a second Senju Hashirama allowed to appear in Konoha? Absolutely not allowed. Therefore, once Ryosuke Yagamai's wood release is confirmed to be the level of wood release of Senju Hashirama, not a degraded version, then the other 4 major ninja villages will definitely not be able to help but take action. Whether it is an assassination or a direct invasion of the army. That will be extremely bad news for Konoha. It turns out that Ryosuke can also use wood escape. Outside the crowd, Tenzo, who was wearing umbu costume, looked at Ryosuke Yagamai on the high platform and couldn't help but think to himself. As the only surviving wood release experimental subject under Orochimaru, Tenzo always felt that he was the most special one. Although his wood release is far from comparable to the Shodame-sama's wood release, it is at least the only wood release in the ninja world. But now, this uniqueness has become a thing of the past. I wonder how powerful Ryosuke's wood escape is. Tenzo thought. He didn't have any thoughts of jealousy, but more of curiosity. He wanted to know which one is stronger and which one is weaker than Yagamai Ryosuke's wood release. Ryosuke, show me. Tsunade turned her head and said to Ryosuke Yagamai beside her. Hearing this, Ryosuke Yagamai also nodded. 2 days ago, Tsunade had handed him the wood release scroll of Senju Hashirama, which contained all regarding the content of various wood release ninjutsu, even Senju Hashirama's most powerful move, Senju Hashirama. True Thousand Jujutsu, is also among them. At this time, after hearing Tsunade's words, Yagamai Ryoji also clapped his hands, and a terrifying chakra energy erupted from his body. Wood escape. Wood dragon technique. Ang. A huge wooden dragon soared into the sky. Ryosuke Yagamai stepped on the top of the wood and let the wooden dragon hold him up into the air. The 100-meter-long wooden dragon flew in the sky like a mighty figure. In a circle. The people in Konoha below also burst into cheers like a mountain roar and a tsunami. It's wood escape. It's really Mudon. It's Lord Hashirama's wood dragon technique. I never thought I would have the chance to see it in my lifetime. Dragon. It's a dragon. It's flying. Lord Yagamai is so handsome. If it were said that when Tsunade announced that Ryosuke Yagamai had awakened the wood release, a small part of the people still had some doubts in their hearts. So at this moment, when they saw Ryosuke Yagamai flying into the sky on a wooden dragon, these few people who had doubts in their hearts completely let go of their last trace of distrust. This is the art of wooden dragon. If the opponent was not a naturally awakened wood release, it would be impossible for him to display such a powerful wood release. At least Tenzo in the crowd couldn't do it. His wood release is better than mine. Tianzang said in his heart. At the same time, he was convinced by Ryosuke Yagamai. This kind of wooden escape is indeed much more powerful than his degraded version. The wooden dragon flew in the sky for a few times before falling to the ground and stabbed directly with a bang. Entering the ground, it turned into a towering tree 100 meters high. Under the shade of the tree, people cheered loudly and shouted the name of Ryosuke Yagamai. The enthusiastic atmosphere made Ryosuke Yagamai feel a little bit crazy. I couldn't stand it anymore. Fortunately, people calmed down soon. Then after 2 Hokage advisors stood up and announced that today's Hokage inauguration ceremony was over, everyone dispersed with excited faces. But what happened here today, I'm afraid they will be discussing it for a long time. In the Hokage's office. Tsunade took off the Hokage hat on her head and placed it next to the table. There were 2 smaller tables on both sides of her table, prepared for her assistants. With Tsunade's character, it is obviously impossible for one person to complete so many documents that the Hokage needs to review. So Tsunade has already thought of a way, that is, to put 2 more desks in the office, and then let someone with the ability to help her handle these documents. Tsunade is not Hiruzen Sarutobi. She refuses to delegate anything and wants to hold everything in her own hands. To be honest, on the first day she became Hokage, Tsunade she felt a little tired. She even wanted to sneak out and take a gamble. But after all, Today was also her first day as Hokage. Whether it was for face or not, she had to sit obediently in the Hokage's office all day. Shikaku, this position will be yours from now on. Tsunade waved her hand and arranged a seat for Nara Shikaku. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network, Nara. Shikaku accepted this arrangement with a wry smile. But in his heart, he was afraid that he would have to sit there every day in the future. I wonder if my wife will object to my overtime work? As a strict wife, Nara Shikaku's family status is lower than his son Shikamaru's at home. If he has to work overtime every day in the future, he will be scolded by his wife. But he had to listen to Hokage-sama's orders, and could only think about how to explain it to his wife when he got home, so that she would understand that he was promoted. Well, in fact, it was indeed promoted. Because Nara Shikaku's current position is they are equivalent to several Hokage advisors during the reign of Sarutobi Hiruzen. You know, when Sarutobi Hiruzen was in power, these seats were firmly controlled by the four of them. Outsiders could not participate at all. Ryosuke, I still have a place here, how about leaving it to you? After Tsunade arranged Nara Shikaku, she looked at Ryosuke Yagamai again and pointed to another small table next to her. Don't. I am still young and not suitable for sitting in an office. Ryosuke Yagamai quickly refused, using the reason of his young age. This reason, when placed on him, is simply a snake oil excuse. It is used every time. That Jiraiya. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya again. Jiraiya was so frightened that he quickly shook his head and refused. Tsunade, you know, I still have to teach Naruto, and I don't have that much free time. Jiraiya brought out Naruto as a disciple as an excuse to reject Tsunade's good intentions. Cut. Everyone is afraid of trouble, right? How could Tsunade not see Jiraiya's little thoughts, so she curled her lips and said while pulling her student Shizune and pressing her down on that seat. Shizune, you will be my assistant from now on. Tsunade announced with her hands on her hips. Shizune. What can she do? She also wanted to refuse, but she couldn't. Shizune, with a grimace on her face, could only nod in agreement. Okay, today's work is all left to you. Tsunade laughed and praised her intelligence, and then she was about to take Yagamai Ryosuke to take a walk in the village. But at this time, Nara Shikaku stopped her. Hokage-sama, you still have a job to complete before this. Shikaku handed her a document. Just deal with it. Tsunade waved her hand and said. Hokage-sama, you have to compare this with accuracy. Nara Shikaku said helplessly. Oh, what is it? Seeing that she couldn't push it down, Tsunade had no choice but to reach out and take the file. These are the results of the previous Chunin exams. Hokage-sama, you need to decide who can qualify for promotion to Chunin. Nara Shikaku said. That's it, let me see. Tsunade returned to the Hokage seat and sat down, opening the file and looking at it carefully. So what, I have to leave first. Jiraiya was afraid that Tsunade would catch him later, so he immediately made an excuse and ran away. Tsunade raised her head and glanced, curled her lips and said nothing. After a while, Tsunade put down documents in hand. I have already read the content. That Nara Shikamaru is your child, Shikaku, right? Tsunade looked at Nara Shikaku and asked. Yes, he is my son. Nara Shikaku nodded and replied. This guy is pretty good, he's qualified to be promoted to Chuyunin. Tsunade said, as for other people's words, let's see. By the way, Ryosuke Yagamai was promoted to an elite jonin. Tsunade thought of something and looked at Yagamai Ryosuke, who was sitting next to Shizune and chatting with her. Ryosuke, you don't have to go to Umbu anymore, or do you want to be the head of Umbu? Tsunade asked. Judging by this, I'm afraid that as long as Yagamai Ryosuke nods, Tsunade will directly hand over the position of Umbu minister to him. No, That's too much trouble. I don't like to have to deal with so many people. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head and said. He doesn't even want to be Hokage, so why would he care about the position of Umbu minister? That's fine, but as an elite jounin you have to have something to do. Tsunade thought for a while, then picked up another document next to it, looked at it, and then said, in this case, the 10th class of your graduating class has not yet led a jounin, why don't you become the 10th class? Leading the jounin. The leading jounin of class 10? Ryosuke Yagamai thought about it and thought it was okay. Moreover, it seems that the leading jounin does not have specific off-duty hours, right? Does that mean it is a 24-hour work system? Isn't that right? Does it mean that he is working 24 hours a day? Thinking of his entry soul of a worker, plus the fact that Ino, his girlfriend, is in the 10th class, Yagamai Ryosuke also nodded in agreement. This arrangement was made. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 164. If you lead a team of jounin, you can. Ryosuke Yagamai replied. Hearing this, Tsunade also wrote the name of Ryosuke Yagamai directly in the column of the leading jounin behind the 10th team. As for the name, Tsunade had told Yagamai before. Kami Ryosuke mentioned whether to change Senju's surname. However, Yagamai Ryosuke didn't think it was necessary. And Tsunade actually didn't care that much. She just thought Yagamai Ryosuke might want it, so she asked. Since Yogamai Ryosuke Kami Ryosuke himself didn't need it, then there was no need to change it. After confirming that Yagamai Ryosuke would mainly serve as the leading jounin of Team 10 in the future, Tsunade also used an excuse to ask Yagamai Ryosuke to accompany her for a good look. Village, and then dragged him directly out of the Hokage's office. Nara Shikaku and Shizun were left looking at each other, and then at the pile of files that needed to be processed high on the desk. The two of them suddenly he laughed bitterly. Oh! With such a Hokage on the stand, I had no choice but to accept my fate. I walked around the village with Tsunade. During this period, Tsunade wanted to run to the gambling house in the village to play a few games, but she couldn't bear it. Seeing that she was now the Hokage, and it was her first day on the job, she really didn't have the nerve to make her look like this. In the end, Ryosuke Yagamai saw Tsunade's predicament, and took her to find Anko, who happened to have nothing to do today. Together with 11 Yan, the four of them got together and played mahjong directly in the original Senju clan's territory. Mahjong did not exist in the ninja world, but Yagamai Ryosuke directly used wooden escape to change it. I just don't know if Senju Hashirama was still alive and knew that Ryosuke Yagamai used wood escape to play mahjong, would he be happy to drag Ryosuke Yagamai to learn this trick? After all, our first generation Hokage sir, you are also a person who likes to play two games very much. After telling Tsunade and the three of them the rules of mahjong, the four of them started playing happily. At first, because they were not familiar with the rules, the three of them basically, every hand will make a mistake. Either you play a card that you shouldn't play, or you think you are wrong, but when you lay it down, you find that you are not wrong. However, this situation improved after playing a few rounds. Gradually, Tsunade and the others found the tricks of mahjong, and their skills improved a lot. However, Tsunade kept losing. So much so that there were more and more notes on her face. An angry Tsunade joined her hands. The cards inside were almost crushed by her. Fortunately, these cards were created by Yagamai Ryosuke using wood release. Because they contain the life force of Yang release, they are very tough. If this was the wood release created by Tenzo, if so, I'm afraid Tsunade would have crushed countless cards. Bang! Flowers bloom on the bar. Tsunade took out one card, and it turned out that Ryosuke Yagamai happened to have 3 cards in his hand. He was always waiting for someone to take out one or touch one himself. As a result, Tsunade just happened to bump into his on the muzzle of the gun. Not to mention, Ryosuke Yagami touched a card with his head, and he actually touched it. It was like a card that blossomed directly. Tsunade lost numbness directly. There were several more notes on her face, all of them can't see anything. Otherwise, Tsunade-sama, please post it somewhere else. Zien saw that Tsunade's face had no place to put it on, so she said thoughtfully. Zien is better. Tsunade smiled and patted 11 Yan's shoulder, then gave Yagami Ryosuke a vicious look. Sister Tsunade, it's useless for you to glare at me. I didn't mean to bully you. Who told you to play your cards well? Ryosuke Yagami looked innocent. He obviously didn't mean it. Don't hit me next time. Tsunade said angrily. Then she pulled off most of the papers on her face and began to stick them on herself. When Yagami Ryosuke saw it, he couldn't take his eyes away. My eyes are going to fall out. Anko next to him kicked him under the table angrily. What are you looking at? Huh? Anko wrinkled her nose angrily, which was so cute. Ryosuke Yagami looked away with a smile and said harshly, I was looking to see if Tsunade-sama had any other places to stick it on, or how about sticking it on her arm. Whatever, and I will definitely not lose again in the future. Tsunade didn't care about Ryosuke Yagami's gaze at all. After all, in her eyes, Ryosuke Yagami was her descendant and her newly recognized god brother. What's wrong with being looked at by her brother a few times? They are all her own. Sister Tsunade, having confidence is a good thing, but... Ryosuke Yagami spoke subconsciously, but when he saw Tsunade's fierce glare, he quickly shut up and stopped talking. He was afraid that Tsunade would get really angry and hit someone directly. Forget it, just say a few words less. Keep going. 11 Yan said with a smile. Among the four, Ryosuke Yagami lost the least, with only 2 notes on his face, followed by 11 Yan, with only 5 notes on his face. Anko and Tsunade lost the most. Most of Anko's face was almost covered with it, and Tsunade couldn't put it on anymore and had to change places. These two guys, luck is really bad. This mahjong game lasted from morning to evening. In the meantime, they even ordered lunch to be delivered directly. Okay, let's stop here today. If you want to play, you can make an appointment next time. Ryosuke Yagami showed the last card, and he took it again. No more playing, no more playing. The notes were swaying on Anko's face, and her body, arms, and even legs were all covered with notes. Tsunade was the same, even more than Anko. Only Yagami, Ryosuke and Uzuki there were very few notes on Yujo's body. Ryosuke Yagami only had 6 on his face. Uzuki Yuga only had a dozen or so notes on her face. Compared to the 2 people who posted 100 or 200 notes, it looked like I almost got buried in the note when I went up there. It was very funny. I'm not lucky today, I will definitely win next time. Tsunade said unconvinced. Then she pulled off the notes on her body bit by bit. Because she had to post more notes, she and Anko took off their outer clothes and rolled up their pants as much as possible. So that there are more places to post notes. Tsunade-sama, let me help. Ryosuke smiled and went over to help. Uzuki Zien was also helping Anko pull the note off her body. Fortunately, the note was not very firmly attached, and it would not hurt the skin if it was pulled off. Standing next to Tsunade, Suke reached out and pulled off some of the notes on her arms and legs. After that, he reached out and tried to pull off the notes on her body, but Tsunade patted the back of his hand. You bastard, you want to take advantage of me. Tsunade rolled her eyes at him angrily. Don't think she can't tell, this kid, not honest at all. No way, I just want to help a bunch of Tsunade's sisters. Ryosuke Yagami explained with a smile. He didn't look embarrassed at all. So shameless. Tsunade rolled her eyes at him, then touched her belly and said, "Let's go, I'm starving." "Yes, I lost the most today, I'll treat you to dinner tonight." "Great." Hongdu and Xian both clapped their hands happily. "You can have a free dinner, and it's Hokage-sama's treat. Good things like this don't happen every day. Let's go to Ichiraku Ramen." Tsunade shouted. "Anko, Xian. What the hell? Ichiraku Ramen?" It's not that the two of them don't like to eat ramen, on the contrary, they often patronize Ichiraku Ramen. But today it's Tsunade, the Hokage-sama, who's treating me. Just go to Ichiraku Ramen? They thought they were going to a barbecue restaurant just now for a big meal. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Forget it, let me treat you. Ryasuke. Yagami said today is Sister Tsunade's first day in office. It's time for us to celebrate Sister Tsunade. He knows that Tsunade has little money. Even Tsunade's assets are negative. Because she owes tens of millions or hundreds of millions of taels outside. This amount of money is nothing to Ryasuke Yagami. But for Tsunade, whose pockets were already empty, even if she wanted to treat someone to a meal of Ichiraku Ramen, she would have to ask Shizun to pay for it later. As for treating someone to a barbecue, come on. She couldn't afford it? Ouch. How embarrassing that is. Hearing that Ryasuke Yagami wanted to treat him, Tsunade laughed and hugged his neck. "Ryasuke, you are great. Tsunade looked like you are a smart kid." Yagami Ryasuke looked at her dumbfounded, and then the four of them left the Senju clan and headed to Konoha's food court. However, looking at this small area in front of them in the Senju clan, Ryasuke Yagami couldn't help but sigh once again at Konoha F4's ability to conquer. You must know that the Senju clan's clan was the largest in Konoha at the time. It was also the closest to the center. It was a well-deserved village. In the center of the village. But what now? The clan land has been moved to the outskirts of the village, and its size is only about 1% of its original size. There are only 4 or 5 small houses, and there is another one because it is near the edge of the village. The newly divided forest. That's it? How can it be worthy of the word Senju clan? However, now that Tsunade has become Hokage, the Senju clan will naturally change. It's time to spit out the things belonging to the Senju clan and turn them into our own clan. As for whether you dare to agree or not. Haha. The backers behind them are gone. Who gave them the courage to say no? Late at night. Ryasuke Yagami was lying on the bed, holding Anko, who was sleeping soundly, in his arms. Suddenly. Ryasuke Yagami suddenly opened his eyes and looked in a certain direction. "Are you coming?" he said in his heart. At this time, somewhere on the outskirts of the village, 2 blurry figures landed on a cliff one after another. From here, you can just see the panoramic view of Konoha in the distance. Ah! By the way, what are we doing in Konoha, senior? Afei asked curiously while picking out earwax. "Take someone away." Uchiha Menma, who was taking the lead, said calmly. "Ah! Is it the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki?" Afei said in surprise, "But hasn't the leader asked us to start collecting tailed beasts yet? Did we come too early?" "Not the Kuwabai Jinchuriki, but Uchiha Sasuke." Uchiha Menma glanced at Afei. Originally, he planned to come alone, but Afei insisted on coming with him. He said that the two of them were in the same group and had to move together when going out. There may be a fight later, so if you don't want to die, try to stay away. Uchiha Menma said calmly. "Ah! Senior, do you want to break into Konoha alone? Oh my god! Senior, you are so awesome." Afei looked like he was worshipping an idol, and almost lost his temper. But Menma Uchiha only felt a little disgusted. "Stop talking nonsense, follow closely, and don't expose yourself until you find the person." Uchiha Menma said coldly. That's good, and then disappeared on the cliff in an instant. Senior. Wait for me. Afei immediately chased after him. In an apartment. The lights in the room had been turned off. Naruto was lying on the bed, but he couldn't sleep because he was tossing and turning. Strange, why do I feel uneasy? Naruto sat up in confusion, planning to go to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Just then. Dong dong dong. Someone suddenly knocked on the glass of the window. Naruto turned around and looked over, and found that the person standing outside the window turned out to be Sasuke, whom I just met during the day. Sasuke, why are you here? Naruto said in surprise, opening the window and letting Sasuke in. Naruto, I'm here to say goodbye to you. Sasuke jumped in from the window and said directly. Ah. Where are you going? Naruto couldn't understand what Sasuke meant for a while. I am leaving Konoha and may not come back for a long time. Sasuke looked at Naruto in front of him and felt very sad in his heart. He remembered that when he was in the ninja school, Naruto was still the leader in the class and always did some boring pranks to attract other people's attention. In fact, Sasuke had been paying attention to Naruto from that time. He felt that Naruto was different from the others in the class. Although Sasuke always scolded Naruto as an idiot on the surface at that time, in fact, he felt that Naruto was an idiot in his heart. Much like myself in many ways. None of them, both mother and father, are alienated from other people in the village. But one of them is the top student in the class, and the other is the last one. They look like people from two completely different worlds. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 165. Until later, Naruto stopped doing those boring pranks. He began to spend more time on training, and his strength continued to improve. Although he was still at the bottom in the cultural class, Sasuke could feel that Naruto's strength was improving rapidly every time the class conducted practical exercises. Finally, one day even he lost to Naruto. Sasuke still clearly remembers everything about that day. Sasuke, I finally caught up with you. I was just careless. I will definitely not lose to you next time. The conversation between the two seemed like yesterday. Sasuke had a look of reluctance in his eyes, and he hugged Naruto out of nowhere. Naruto. What happened to Sasuke today? Naruto's head is filled with questions. Etc. Sasuke, you just said you were leaving Konoha, where are you going? Naruto pulled Sasuke up and looked at him and asked. Naruto, do you remember that Uchiha Menmo last time? Sasuke didn't answer immediately, but asked. Naruto recalled it and nodded. Remember, isn't that Sasuke your clansman? Naruto said. He was quite impressed by Uchiha Menma. After all, he was a ruthless person who defeated himself in the three-tailed state, and also beat Gaara violently. He was a very terrifying person. Guy. I have worshipped him as my teacher a few days ago, and now I am leaving Konoha with my teacher to practice elsewhere. Sasuke said. Ah. Sasuke, did you become that guy's disciple? Naruto said in surprise, but, why can't we stay in the village? Sasuke shook his head, looking at Naruto's reluctant eyes, his heart felt like it was being pulled hard. Naruto, you are taught by Jiraiya now, but I can no longer learn anything from Kakashi, so I must leave Konoha with the teacher. Only in this way can I become stronger and find Uchiha Itachi. Revenge. Maybe I will become a rebellious ninja in the village, but Naruto, you will definitely understand me, right? Even if everyone else misunderstands me, as long as you understand me, Naruto, that's enough. Naruto. What? Sasuke, are you going to become a rebel ninja? Sasuke. Did you listen to me carefully just now? Did I waste my feelings by calling 910? Sasuke looked depressed. It feels like playing the piano to a cow. Don't want. Sasuke, you can't become a traitor. The village will want you. Naruto said eagerly. During the time he was with Jiraiya, Naruto didn't just learn a psychic technique. Regarding some common sense things, such as what is a traitorous ninja, Jiraiya also I have studied science with him. Therefore, Naruto will say that if Sasuke becomes a traitor, the village will definitely want him. Naruto, I don't care if the village wants me or not, you know, I only care about becoming stronger, then finding Itachi Uchiha, and avenging Uchiha's dead souls. Sasuke clenched his fists and said viciously. Seeing Sasuke like this, Naruto opened his mouth and didn't know how to persuade him. Rationally, he should try his best to keep Sasuke and prevent him from leaving with that Uchiha Menma. Konoha. Emotionally speaking, seeing Sasuke's painful look, Naruto couldn't bear to force him to stay. After all, as Sasuke said, it would be difficult for him to regain his strength if he continued to stay in the village. Improved. Maybe following Menma Uchiha is the best choice for him. Yes. Sasuke, you can go find Ryosuke. Ryosuke is so powerful, he can definitely help you. Naruto suddenly thought of Ryosuke Yagami. If it was Ryosuke Yagami, he would definitely be able to help Sasuke, right? No, he can't. Sasuke shook his head. Ryosuke is indeed very strong, but that's because he has the blood of the Senju clan in his body, and he can awaken the wood release. His blood of the Senju clan must be very pure. But I am an Uchiha. Do you want a Senju to guide Uchiha? He can't help me at all. Only the teacher, who is of the same race as me, can really help me. Ah, this. Naruto didn't know how to persuade Sasuke for a moment. Because everything Sasuke said seems to be right. Do you have to leave then? Naruto reluctantly held Sasuke's hand, since he didn't want him to leave. Naruto, I have to go, you should understand. Sasuke said. Bhbj, he was also reluctant to give up, but for his own ambition and his dream, he had to embark on this road. Sasuke, I understand. Naruto choked with tears, and tears were already welling up in his eyes. Sasuke felt very distressed when he saw him like this. He even opened a pair of Sharingan eyes involuntarily, and even Sasuke himself didn't notice it. Naruto, I will come to see you when I have the opportunity in the future. You must also practice hard and don't be left far behind by me. Sasuke pursed his lips, trying his best to prevent tears from flowing out. But his voice became choked like Naruto's. Damn Sasuke. I won't be left behind by you, you have to work hard to practice, otherwise you won't be able to beat me the next time we meet. Naruto cried as he spoke, with tears and runny nose running all over his face. I am leaving. Sasuke turned around resolutely, not letting Naruto see the tears flowing out of him. Just the moment after turning around, the tears in Sasuke's eyes couldn't stop flowing down his cheeks. He was crying hard. Sasuke didn't dare to stay here any longer, so he turned over and rushed out of the window, quickly disappearing into the night using the teleportation technique. Sasuke. Naruto ran to the window and shouted Sasuke's name. However, the figure of the person he missed was no longer in the dark night. Sasuke. In the room decorated in pink, Sakura woke up from a nightmare. She had just dreamed that Sasuke left the village, left everyone, and left her. This dream was so real that Sakura couldn't bear it after being awakened. I was a little worried and opened the window to look outside. How could I have such a dream? Sakura thought. On the other side, Sasuke left Naruto and flew directly towards the agreed place outside the village. As he ran, he recalled every bit of the past and Naruto in his mind. Thinking of the future of them not knowing when they would meet again, or even seeing each other again as enemies, Sasuke once again felt like his heart was being grabbed. He didn't realize that the Sharingan in his eyes was also moving rapidly at this time. Rotating. A new megatama appeared in the left eye in a short period of time. It evolved from a double megatama to a triple megatama form. The right eye was slightly worse. When the third megatama was about to take shape, Suzuki's heart, the emotional outburst also subsided. In the end, the three megatama did not completely solidify. As the rotation of Sharingan slowed down, the megatama also disappeared. But Suzuki's eye power did improve. The third megatama in the right eye is also on the verge of awakening. Next time, as long as there is a little more stimulation, or a step-by-step accumulation of time, it will not take long to awaken. Now, Suzuki, who has 3 megatama in his left eye and 2 megatama in his right eye, he didn't know that his eyes had changed. When he arrived at the agreed place, he looked around and saw that no one showed up. He felt a little panicked for no reason. At this moment, "It seems that you have said goodbye." A voice suddenly appeared. Suzuki looked back and saw Menma Uchiha standing behind him, followed by a guy wearing the same windbreaker and a Uzumaki mask. "Al? Is this Uchiha Suzuki? Why are his eyes so strange? One has 3 megatama but the other has 2 megatama." Afei looked at Suzuki curiously and found that this guy is really interesting. The megatama of the Sharingan eye is actually different. This is really something he has never heard of or seen before. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. From this special point, he is the only one among Uchiha. 3 megatama. Suzuki didn't notice Afei's weird tone, but caught the key point of his words. "Teacher, my eyes." Suzuki looked at Uchiha Menma and asked. Uchiha Menma nodded and said, "Yes, your left eye has evolved to the 3 megatama form, but the right eye is still not that interesting." "Really evolved?" Suzuki was overjoyed. "You know, as long as the Uchiha clan develops their Sharingan to the 3 megatama state and practices a little bit, they will become an elite Jounin. In other words, he has now completed half of the goal of an elite Jounin. As long as the right eye has also evolved into the 3 megatama form. Wouldn't it be possible to have the strength of an elite Jounin level soon?" "Very good. The next step is kaleidoscope." Suzuki clenched his fists, and the sadness in his heart because of breaking up with Naruto was diluted a lot at this moment. He wanted to leave Konoha at the cost of bearing the name of a traitor, not just to further improve his strength. What? Now, he was just about to leave, but before he left completely, his eyes evolved. What does this mean? It means that his choice is correct. "Teacher, let's go," Suzuki said. He couldn't wait to accept the teacher's training. Hearing this, Uchiha Menma shook his head slightly and said, "Don't worry, why don't you say hello to your other teacher?" "Another teacher? Kakashi." Suzuki sensed something, turned around and looked to the other side. Sure enough, on the roof of a house, he saw several figures standing there. The figures had their backs to each other. Under the moonlight, he couldn't see their appearance clearly, but Suzuki still recognized that one of them was Kakashi. After all, his hairstyle was very unconventional in Konoha, so it was easy to recognize. Brush. 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 Several figures fell in front of the 3 people. "Suzuki, what are you doing here without sleeping in the middle of the night?" Kakashi looked at Suzuki and asked quietly. In fact, he had already seen that Suzuki was a little unbalanced during this period, but Kakashi wanted to let Naruto have a good chat with Suzuki after Naruto came back. The relationship between the two of them should make Suzuki happy. Unfortunately, it seems to have backfired now. Even Naruto couldn't retain Suzuki. Kakashi looked coldly at the 2 dressed men next to him. Once Uchiha Itachi was wearing the same uniform. Needless to say, this style of clothes must be the uniform of a certain organization. Does Suzuki also want to join this organization? Kakashi thought. When he saw Kakashi, Suzuki knew he can't leave Konoha quietly today. but his determination to leave has been made, and he will not change it again. Kakashi, the village can no longer help me become stronger, so I decided to leave with the teacher. Sasuke said. Teacher, Kakashi glanced at the two people next to him. For some reason, the guy wearing the Uzumaki mask always gave him a very special feeling. It was like, an old friend you haven't seen in years. Yes, he is my new teacher. Sasuke said. Kakashi frowned. It was not that he was unhappy that Sasuke had found a new teacher, but that these two people were obviously not ninjas in the village, and they were in the same organization as Uchiha Itachi. They were probably a group of people. Rebellious ninja. Sasuke actually found a traitorous ninja as his teacher? This is not good. Sasuke, are you sure you want to do this? Do you know this means you will betray the village? Kakashi didn't want Sasuke to go down this wrong path. Before it was too late to change his mind, he wanted to persuade Sasuke to give up this idea. After all, Sasuke was also his student, and he had taught him Sasuke Chidori's ninjutsu. It can be seen that Kasi really cares about Sasuke. What a pity. Sasuke has no intention of looking back. He has made up his mind. He will not change. Kakashi, don't block my way. Sasuke's eyes turned cold. In Konoha, apart from Naruto, he only has a better relationship with Ryosuke Yagami. As for others, even Kakashi, who taught him ninjutsu, in Sasuke's eyes it's just someone he knows a little bit. If Naruto insists on stopping him and not letting him go, Sasuke might still hesitate. But Kakashi? Forget it. Kakashi is in Sasuke's heart. The portion is far from enough. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 166. Kakashi, forget it, it seems that Uchiha Sasuke has made up his mind and you can't convince him. Tenzo on the side patted Kakashi on the shoulder and said. Sasuke yo. If you betray the village, Kakashi will be very sad. Metkai frowned and looked at Sasuke with a somewhat unkind look. The three of them originally came out to celebrate tonight. After all, the new Hokage has taken over and the village has entered a new stage. For elite jonin like them, in the future life may also undergo a big change. As soon as he came out of the barbecue restaurant, Kakashi discovered Sasuke, who was running forward. He was curious about what Sasuke was doing out of the house without sleeping in the middle of the night, so Kakashi took him with him. Tianzang and Metkai followed up. Only then did the scene in front of them happen. Okay, now that we've said goodbye, let's go. Uchiha Menma spoke and said to Sasuke calmly. Sasuke nodded, turned around and left. Stop. Kakashi and the others stopped in front of the three of them. As the elite jonin in the village, we can't just let you take Sasuke away. Kakashi reached out and pushed away the forehead protector on his eyes, revealing his Sharingan. Fei, who was following Menma Uchiha, looked at Kakashi, and his one eye also showed a responsible look. When Kakashi, after revealing the Sharingan that he gave to Kakashi as a gift, the scene from that time also appeared in Obito's mind under the mask. Kakashi, I haven't given you a gift to celebrate your becoming a jonin, have I? This eye is given to you as a gift. You must use it to continue to live well and protect Lin. The original conversation seemed to be still vivid in his mind. When Obito thought about Lin's death in the hands of Kakashi, he couldn't help but feel pain in his heart. Kakashi, you failed to live up to my expectations of you. You are too embarrassing for me. Disappointed. Obito's eyes burst out with hatred. At this moment, Fei, you take Sasuke and go first. I'm here to play with these Konoha ninjas for a while. Uchiha Menma's voice woke up Obito, who was trapped in memories. Al. Senior, aren't you going to let me help? But that's right, it's just a few Konoha ninjas. With the strength of the seniors, they could be crushed to death with one hand. Fei said in a funny way, grabbing Sasuke's shoulders and leading him to disappear instantly. The figure quickly flew towards the outside of the village. Stop! The three of Kakashi planned to rush forward to stop them. However, they were cut by a wind blade in front of them, almost splitting them in half. Boom! A passage was opened in the forest in the distance. The ground cracked like a ferocious giant mouth. Kakashi and the other three looked at the guy in front of them with solemn eyes. Who are you? Why take Sasuke away? What's the purpose? Kakashi asked loudly. Don't you even know who I am? Uchiha Menma lifted him up with a ball of sand at his feet and flew into the air, looking down at the three of them. My name is Menma Uchiha. A strange red light flashed in his eyes, and a pair of three Magatama Sharingan looked at the three of them coldly. Menma Uchiha. It's you, the mysterious person who appeared in the Chunin exams. Kakashi has also heard about this Uchiha Menma. He once broke into the four purple flame formation, used illusions to hurt the Sandaime Hokage, and then came out and used illusions to kill a dozen Umbu ninjas. He even used illusions to kill Naruto. Appeared in the duel with Gaara, and single-handedly defeated the released one-tailed Shikaku and Naruto in the three-tailed state. His strength is extremely terrifying. He is a rare master among the cage level. Faced with such the enemy, Kakashi and the other three elite Jonin also felt a little bit of pressure in their hearts instantly. However, with 1 against 3, they had no chance of winning. Oh! It seems like you are quite confident in your own abilities. Uchiha Menma sneered and said. Akai, Tianzang, you cooperate with me. Kakashi said to the two friends beside him. Metkai and Tenso also nodded. Then one used wood escape and the other used taijutsu, and instantly killed Uchiha Menma in front of him. Ridiculous. Uchiha Menma sneered. The next second, Metkai, who rushed up, directly kicked Tenzo with a whirlwind kick of Konoha's strength. Tenzo tried to trap Metkai with a tree binding eternal burial. You too. Kakashi's eyes widened. Originally, he planned to let Tenzo and Metkai entangle each other, and then he would take the opportunity to use Raikiri to kill the opponent with one blow. But as a result, the two of them just started to attack, and they were directly killed by each other. The illusion was affected and they actually attacked each other. Wake up! Kakashi rushed forward and tried to stop him, but was blocked by a sharp kunao, and a wound was instantly cut on his cheek. Blood beads oozed from the wound. Uchiha Menma looked at him calmly. With a slight movement of his fingers, dense kunao came towards Kakashi, forcing Kakashi to retreat in embarrassment. Would escape? It was simply an embarrassment to Senju Hashirama. Uchiha Menma glanced at Tenzo's wood release and said coldly. Hateful. Kakashi's face was dark, but he could only be held back by a pile of kunao and was unable to go up to help. Just gravel, not half as good as me. Uchiha Menma sneered and said. At this moment. Weird punch. Fire escape. Big flame bullet. Brush. A wall of sand formed behind Uchiha Menma blocked the attack from behind. Tsunade, who clenched her fist, punched a large area of sand. Jireya's big flame bomb hit the sand. An explosion occurred, raging fire burned in the sky, and fell to the earth like a flying fireball. The art of messing up the lion's hair. A piece of long white hair came like a torrential rain, blocking or even cutting off a large number of kunao. Brush. Jireya's figure appeared next to Kakashi. Kakashi, are you okay? Jireya asked. Kakashi shook his head. What's going on here? Jireya asked. He was originally drinking in an izakaya, but suddenly heard an explosion, so he rushed over immediately. On the way, he also met Tsunade, who was also unable to catch up, so the two of them appeared here together. Brush. Tsunade's figure appeared between Tenzo and Metkai, separating the two by herself. Weird punch. One punch per person, directly physically wakes him up. Master Jiraiya, this person is Uchiha Menma, who appeared in the Chunin exam before. He somehow bewitched Sasuke, and now Sasuke plans to leave the village for him. Kakashi explained the matter in as short a sentence as possible. It's him. Jiraiya didn't care much about the brat Uchiha Sasuke. Instead, he frowned when he heard that the person in front of him turned out to be a descendant of Uchiha who had appeared in the Chunin exam before. This is not easy to solve. Enemy. On the other side, to read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. After Tsunade woke up met Kai and Tenzo with one punch, the three of them also returned here. Jiraiya, this guy is too strong, not something you or I can handle. Tsunade said with an unprecedented serious expression. Have you met him? As soon as Jiraiya saw her expression, he knew that Tsunade must know this Uchiha Menma. Sure enough. Tsunade nodded, and then briefly talked about her previous encounter with Uchiha Menma. Susanna, who is higher than the mountain. Jiraiya was so frightened that he said, cleaved a mountain 10,000 meters away with one knife. Tsunade, are you sure you're not joking? Do you think I'm joking? Tsunade said with a solemn expression. Well, it really doesn't look like it. But, isn't that too exaggerated? Is this kind of strength really something that should exist in the ninja world? Even the legendary Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, who pacified the troubled times, were probably only at this level, or maybe even worse. Jiraiya, who has never seen the true strength of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, naturally cannot imagine how terrifying these two bosses are. In Jiraiya's opinion, those tailed beasts should already be the most destructive creatures in the ninja world. But now Tsunade tells him that there is someone who can surpass the tailed beast in destructive power. Besides, Susanna, who is higher than the mountains. How to fight this? Now what? Jiraiya asked. What do you think? Tsunade looked at him, as if she was looking at a fool. Now that things are like this, what else can we do? Just fight. Okay, I did ask an idiot question. Jiraiya smiled bitterly, mainly because he was a little frightened by what Tsunade said just now. Tsunade, help me hold him back. Jiraiya said. Come with me and remember not to look into each other's eyes. Tsunade nodded, and then said to Kakashi and the three of them. On the other side. Menma Uchiha did not take advantage of their words to take action. Instead, he stood in mid-air, overlooking them like a god. Why haven't I come yet? Uchiha Menma thought to himself. At this moment, Tsunade, Kakashi, and the others all rushed forward. As soon as they struck, they went all out. Uchiha Menma took a look. Yes. First, solve these little troubles. Although he is just a wooden clone, his strength is also super shadow level. Even after Ryusuke Yagamai awakened the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the strength of Uchiha Menma disguised as a wooden clone also further improved. It has been strengthened. Now, the strength of the wooden clone alone has reached the peak of the super shadow. Compared with Uchiha Madara, who has not opened the Rinnegan, he is only 9 tails short. Speaking of which, Yagamai Ryo, the tailed beast chakra accumulated in the sealed space within the medium, has also formed Toa tailed beast. One with 9 tails and one with 1 tail. It's just that the size is much smaller than the real 9 tails and 1 tails. Only 6 or 7 meters tall. But the chakra contained in it is already much beyond that of ordinary shadow level experts. So, if Ryusuke Yagamai lends the tailed beast chakra to the wooden clone, it's not like the wooden clone can't display its powerful Susanoo. It's just that the effect is definitely not as good as Uchiha Madara's. In fact, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama at their peak were both at the quasi-6th level. Apart from the fact that they don't have the 6 paths chakra, their strength is almost the same as the real 6 paths level. Especially Senju Hashirama. No need to rely on external force, a Sage mode can directly defeat Uchiha Madara's powerful Susanoo. A powerful explosion. Psychic art. While Tsunade and the others were holding back Menma Uchiha, Jiraiya immediately channeled Fukazaku Sage and Shima Sage. Little Jiraiya, do you need us two old guys for anything? The two immortals who were channeled also stood on Jiraiya's shoulders and asked. I have to trouble two immortals again. This time the enemies are very strong and I need to enter immortal mode. Jiraiya said. No problem, leave it to us. The two immortals nodded and agreed to help without hesitation. Because Jiraiya was not good at learning the immortal mode, he needed the cooperation of the two immortals to successfully activate the immortal mode. He asked Tsunade and the others to go over and hold him back. Uchiha Menma just wanted them to buy him enough time to activate the Sage mode. Only in that way will his strength skyrocket based on the current situation. Only then would it be possible to defeat this Uchiha Menma. 8 gates of Dungia, the 6th gate, open. Towards the peacock. Medi's whole body was filled with green flames. He jumped up high and blasted a series of fists into the air. The fists rubbed the air to form a fireball. The attack shrouded Uchiha Menma's body. Magnetic escape. Iron sand roars. Uchiha waved his numb hand, and a large piece of iron sand turned into a roaring dragon, which directly blocked Metkai's peacock attack, and at the same time crushed Tenzu's wood escape attack. My feet hurt. Tsunade kicked Uchiha Menma behind. However, Uchiha Menma blocked it with a punch. This is my strange power. Tsunade looked at Uchiha Menma in surprise. I learned it from you last time. Uchiha Menma said with a faint smile. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 167. Damn it! You ninjutsu thief! Tsunade was so angry that her teeth were itching. The bastards of the Uchiha clan are all ninjutsu thieves? She cursed in her heart, while cooperating with Kakashi and the other three, the 4 of them besieged Menma Uchiha together. But Tsunade knew clearly, the Uchiha Menma in front of her was not fighting seriously at all. She seemed to be playing with them. The cat and mouse-like attitude made Tsunade feel very hurt. I think she is also one of the legendary Sunin. When being reduced to cooperating with a few elite jounin, only to be played cat and mouse by the other party? Not even Sancho Hanzo was like this. Jiraiya, are you okay? Tsunade shouted back. All right. Brush. A figure passed by Tsunade. Immortal magic. Great flame bullet. Boom. The burning fire oil turned into a more powerful ninjutsu. Driven by the magic chakra, it exploded 10 times as powerful as the original big fire bomb. Boom. The big fire bomb hit a wall. On the wall made of iron sand. The iron sand exploded instantly and turned into countless smaller fireballs, which densely bombarded Uchiha Menma behind. Immortal mode. Uchiha Menma murmured lightly. Then he opened his eyes, and complex kaleidoscope patterns appeared in his eyes. Susanoo. Black energy emerged, forming a half-body Susan, blocking Uchiha Menma. Boom. 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 Fireballs hit Susan's body one by one, but they failed to hurt 440. Uchiha was half numb when he saw it. Immortal magic. Thousands of hair needles. Jiraiya didn't know when he had appeared behind Uchiha Menma. His white hair hardened instantly, and then it hit Uchiha Menma like a rainstorm. This magical attack is extremely fast and has a wide range. Extremely wide. From a long distance away, Jiraiya's hardened hair hit the black Susan. It actually made some cracks on the surface of Susan. In the distance, on a cliff. Afei let Suzuki watch the show here. Wow! Is that Jiraiya, one of the legendary 3 ninjas? Why does he look so ugly? Afei complained, and then saw Jiraiya's hair needle Senbon repelling the black Susan, and couldn't help but exclaimed again. Sasuke on the side frowned and glanced at him, thinking that the other party should be the teacher's companion, and also he didn't say anything, not to mention that although this Fei looked strange, his strength was definitely far superior to that of Konoha Genin. The teacher won't lose, right? Sasuke asked worriedly. Don't worry, Senior's strength is much more than that. Afei laughed and said, but he was wondering in his heart. Strange, why does this Uchiha Menma Susan seem to have become much weaker? His body size has also become smaller. How could Obito know, because the Uchiha Menma in front of him is Yagami Ryuzuke. The wooden clone pretending to be is not himself at all. Naturally, his Susanna cannot have the huge size of Yagami Ryuzuke's original body, and the defense and attack far beyond the normal state. After all, the effect of the entry, there is no way for the wooden clone to share it. That is, the amplified chakra on the main body can be directly transferred to the wooden clone, barely enjoying the amplification effect of the entry. But others, including ninjutsu, blood succession, etc., would what the clone uses is normal power. It will not be like Ryusuke Yagami himself, where a C-level ninjutsu is as powerful as a super S-level forbidden jutsu. Of course, the huge chakra in Kiffin's body, coupled with the blessing of the eternal kaleidoscope. Ordinary ninjutsu can also exert effects far beyond those used by ordinary ninjas in his hands. It is almost like a C-level one with a slightly stronger effect than a B-level one. But for more, just no more. Could it be that the Susanna last time was actually the pupil technique of his other eye? Obito couldn't help but guess. The last time he saw Menma Uchiha use an pupil technique Tsukuyomi, but the pupil technique of the other eye, but it has never been used. But now it seems that Susan is obviously much smaller than the last time, combined with the other pupil technique that the other party has not used. Obito doubts the pupil technique of Uchiha Menma's other eye. It may be an pupil technique that can be blessed on Susanoo. The effect of that pupil technique is probably to increase Susanoo's size and attack and defense. Although Obito has never heard of an pupil technique that can be blessed on Susanoo before. But the Sharingan itself is the eye that reflects the soul. What kind of pupil technique cannot appear? It is not impossible for a pupil technique to amplify Susanoo's strength. It's just that such a pupil technique consumes pupil power. It should also be extremely amazing. The reason why Uchiha Menma used it last time may be because pain was too strong, so he had to use it. But this time he faced the group of ninjas from Konoha. Maybe he didn't think it was necessary to use it. The pupil technique blessed Susan, and he felt that normal Susan could also handle it, so he didn't use it. That should be it. Obito felt that his guess was almost the same, and it was almost the truth of the matter. Otherwise, why did he do it twice? Is there such a big difference in Susanna's body size? This must be the reason. On the outskirts of the village, the huge movement alerted many ninjas in Konoha and rushed towards this direction. Ryusuke Yagami was also among them, and he was the first batch to arrive. Live ninja. Lord Yagami. Lord Yagami. When the surrounding Konoha ninjas saw him, they all greeted him respectfully, looking at Ryusuke Yagami with eyes full of admiration and envy. After all, Ryusuke Yagami is now the most popular figure in the village. His reputation is even surpassed Tsunade, who had just succeeded as the 5th Hokage. No wonder these ninjas would reveal such things when they saw him. An expression comes. Ryusuke Yagami is also used to it. After nodding and saying hello to them, he looked at the fighting parties in front. That is, the clothes that Itachi Uchiha and Kisame wore last time. Yagami Ryusuke muttered. At this time, Nara Shikaku, Konoha's military advisor, also walked next to him. Ryusuke, the situation is not good, That person seems to be the Uchiha descendant who appeared in the Chunin examination last time. Narashikaku said. You guys are on guard outside, I'll go take a look. Ryosuke Yagamai thought for a moment and then said to Narashikaku. Then he rushed forward instantly. Seeing this, Narashikaku also ordered the surrounding Konoha ninjas to stand still. After all, neither side of the battle is generally strong. These ordinary ninjas rushed forward. Although they could help a little, most of them went up to kill people. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. Now is the time when the village needs to recuperate, but it can't. The effective strength of the village will be reduced again. Brush. Ryosuke Yagamai rushed into the battlefield instantly. With a slash of the ninja sword in his hand, he instantly split a sword energy to block the attack of the Black Susanna in front. The two sides cancelled each other out, and no one was forced to retreat. Ryosuke, you are finally here, come and help. Jiraiya also breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Yagamai Ryosuke, and quickly shouted. Jiraiya-sama, what's going on with you like this? Isn't this too ugly? Ryosuke Yagamai waved his sword to block the Black Susan in front of him, and looked at Jiraiya with a look of disgust on his face. Hearing this, Jiraiya also smiled bitterly. Why doesn't he like to use the Sage mode? That's it? Because the Sage mode is too ugly. It seriously affects his image. But this time the enemy is too strong. If he doesn't use Sage mode, Jiraiya can't defeat him at all. In fact, even if he uses Sage mode, Jiraiya also finds that he still can't beat it. Here comes another ant. Uchiha Menma appeared on Susan's head holding his hands. At this time, Susan had entered the fourth form, which was also the last form before the complete form. The 100-meter-tall Black Susan stood like a mountain. In front of everyone. Susan swung a huge sword in his hand, blasting out terrifying black sword energy and splitting the earth. Let me do it. Ryosuke Yagamai rushed up instantly, put away the ninja sword in his hand, clapped his hands, and shouted. Wood escape. The art of wooden man. Boom. A wooden man who was also 100 meters tall rose up from the ground and directly blocked the Black Susanu's attack with both hands. The black sword energy struck the wooden man's arm, leaving 2 wounds. But it disappeared in the blink of an eye. This is the power of real wood escape. As long as you are not beaten, you can recover quickly. It's wood escape. It was Lord Yagamai who took action. Is that the art of wooden people? Oh my god. This is too big. The Uchiha Susanna opposite is huge. Is this kind of battle really something ordinary ninjas like us can participate in? Exaggerate. I feel like even the tailed beasts can't beat them. Now that Lord Yagamai has taken action, we just need to watch. Many ninjas in Konoha stared at the 2 behemoths in the distance with dumbfounded expressions. Amidst the tremors of the earth, the 2 behemoths fought together. The shock wave that broke out instantly shattered a large area around them. Forest. The earth was shattered, and the sky was shattered with splashes. Even the clouds thousands of meters high in the sky were torn and shattered. Terrible. Everyone, stand back. Tsunade fell in front of a group of Konoha ninjas and shouted loudly. After hearing Lord Hokage's order, many Konoha ninjas who came to the scene also retreated and left. They did not dare to approach the battlefield at all. Tsunade, I think we need to organize nearby villagers to evacuate first. This movement is too big. Jiraiya also exited the Sage mode at this time and landed next to Tsunade and said. After just a short battle, he had realized that even if he turned on the Sage mode, he could not beat this Uchiha Menma. The opponent's ability was too restrained for him. As soon as Susanna opened, his attack didn't work at all. And Jiraiya's strongest illusion move, Toad Sing, didn't have that obvious effect against Uchiha who had a kaleidoscope. Jiraiya didn't even have to try it. You can guess it? Of course. You can hit him, but Susan is too big. Before Jiraiya used Senjutsu to fight Susan, who was 100 meters tall, Gomen only managed to break Susan. It was just a small area of defense on the body. Then it was repaired in the blink of an eye. It couldn't hurt Uchiha Menma inside Susanna. This was very uncomfortable. And now, Ryosuke Yagami's Bokuto is also such a huge monster. Two big guys were fighting over there, and Jiraiya was worried that it would cause great damage to the surrounding terrain, and it might affect the nearby villagers. So he proposed to evacuate the surrounding villagers for refuge first. You're right. Tsunade nodded when she heard this, and then ordered the surrounding ninjas to evacuate the surrounding residents immediately. The lustful fairy. At this moment, a figure suddenly rushed in and landed next to Jiraiya. Lustful immortal, what happened here? 1.7. Naruto's eyes are still a little red. Apparently he cried for a long time after Sasuke left. What's wrong with your eyes? Jiraiya asked confused, and then explained the situation here to Naruto. So, Ryosuke is fighting that Uchiha Menma now. Naruto looked at the two behemoths in the distance and couldn't help but feel astonished. Boom! Bokuto grabbed the huge black Susanoo with both arms, lifted it up directly, and smashed it against a mountain 1,000 meters away. There was a sound. There was a loud noise, the entire mountain disappeared instantly, and a huge pit appeared on the ground. Uchiha and Senju, let's fight. It's better to die together. In Naruto's body, the nine-tailed nine llama who saw the scene through his eyes also glared viciously with a pair of vertical pupils, cursing the two guys to die together. For Uchiha and Senju, Ninetales obviously didn't what a good impression. One was driven by Zenjin as if he were a beast, and the other kept saying that his power was too strong, and then grabbed him and sealed him with one hand. They were all like beasts, it would be better if they were all dead. Kuwabai thought. By the way, erotic sage, have you seen Sasuke? Naruto suddenly remembered that Sasuke said before that he worshipped Menma Uchiha as his disciple. Doesn't that mean that Sasuke is also nearby now? I didn't see this, you can ask Kakashi. Jiraiya said. He and Tsunade came late and did not see Faye and Sasuke. But Kakashi and the others have met. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 168. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto looked around expectantly, and then found Kakashi dressing his wound in a corner. Kakashi-sensei, have you seen Sasuke? Naruto quickly ran over and asked. It's Naruto. Kakashi had just bandaged the wound on his arm for a long time when he saw Naruto running over. Hearing this, he also smiled bitterly and said, you see, we only found this Uchiha Menma after following Sasuke, but Sasuke has decided to defect. Konoha, I can't convince him either. I know this. Sasuke came to say goodbye to me before. He said that staying in the village would not make him stronger, so he chose to follow Menma Uchiha to leave the village. Naruto quickly explained, Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke didn't intend to defect, and he just followed the teacher out of the village to practice. Can you not want Sasuke? Naruto, Sasuke is defecting like this. Kakashi held his forehead with one hand, and didn't know how to explain this problem to Ikijin Naru. But the lustful immortal also said before that he would take me out of the village to practice for a period of time. I can leave the village to practice, why can't Sasuke? Naruto didn't want Sasuke to be wanted, nor did he want Sasuke to become an enemy of the village in the future. So he tried his best to convince Kakashi. That's different. Kakashi said helplessly, Naruto, Master Jiraiya is a ninja in the village. He can take you out of the village to practice. That's okay. But Sasuke is following the unidentified Menma Uchiha. He is not a ninja in the village, and this guy has joined that rebel ninja organization, even more so. But Naruto still wanted to defend Sasuke, but at this time the battle in the distance took a new turn. Boom. The huge black Susanoo was grabbed by one of Bokuto's legs and smashed violently on the ground a dozen times. 17. The entire earth collapsed, covering a large area. Fortunately, the battlefield between the two of them was already some distance away from Konoha. Otherwise, just this one move would have caused the collapse of a large number of buildings in the village. By then, Tenzo, the architect of Konoha, would be busy again. The ground shook, and the evacuating villagers looked into the distance in horror. "Come on, everyone, hurry up." The ninjas responsible for the evacuation hurriedly shouted loudly. At the same time, they were also amazed that Lord Yagami's power was so terrifying. If Lord Yagami hadn't been here tonight, Konoha would not have known how powerful the intruder was. How many people have to sacrifice to stop them? When they think of this, these ninjas' admiration for Ryusuke Yagami is flowing out in their hearts. At this moment, even if Ryusuke Yagami asks them to be cannon fodder, they may not even frown. Browse. Boom. With a loud noise, the Black Susan was thrown into the air heavily by Bokuto, and then the wild Ryusuke standing above the Bokuto directly hit the Black Susan in the sky with a wind escape spiral shuriken. Zo instantly destroyed a large area of energy flesh, and bones on Susanna's body. A big hole was blown out of the Black Susan's abdomen, and after being hit hard, it stirred up dust all over the sky. Will the teacher be okay? On the cliff in the distance, Suzuki said worriedly after seeing this scene. He also didn't expect that Yagami Ryusuke's strength was so terrifying. Could it be that awakening Mudun, the improvement in his strength is really so exaggerated? Is it as strong as a strong man like his teacher was beaten like this? Isn't this too terrifying? Konoha is so scary. There are actually ninjas with such terrifying strength. Afei was also scratching his head anxiously, looking nervous. When Suzuki saw it, he felt even more unsure. He wouldn't be captured, would he? At this moment. Boom. In the smoke and dust in the distance, a bird, the extremely huge black palm, suddenly broke through the smoke and dust, and a strong wind swept across with a roar, directly blowing away the dust in the sky. On the cleared land, a black giant several times taller than the mountains was standing there. The black giant was standing there. The giant is wearing black armor, the style of which has changed slightly from the previous Karatengu armor. His arms are more than 300 meters long, and he holds two huge black swords that are nearly 500 meters long. There are even longer ones on his back. A pair of wings came out. The wings were spread out, with a wingspan of 700 to 800 meters. When people in the distance saw such a terrifying black giant appearing on the ground, they were all shocked and speechless. Complete body Susan. Is Uchiha Menma's kaleidoscope so powerful? Obito looked at the black giant in the distance and was extremely shocked. You know, before Uchiha Menma, the last person to use the complete Susanoo was Uchiha Madara. But Uchiha Madara is only the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, has enough pupil power to activate Susanoo's ultimate power and reach its ultimate form. And what about Uchiha Menma? He is just an ordinary Mangekyo. How could he have such an incredible pupil power? Can actually inspire Susanoo to his complete form? This guy, aren't you afraid of being blinded in an instant? Obito murmured in his heart. At this time, although others did not know the differences in Susanoo's various forms, just the fact that the complete Susanoo was standing there, with a size of about 600 meters, was enough to scare people. He was already dead. The wooden man, who was about as tall as the black Susanoo, now stood in front of this complete Susan, as small as a baby facing a strong man over 2 meters tall. Gudu. Many people, they were all swallowing their saliva and looking at this terrifying demon god with horrified expressions. Is this really something that humans can do? At this moment, even Jiraiya was stunned. He had never even thought about such a huge Susan, let alone seen it with his own eyes. But Tsunade thought she had seen it once before, which was somewhat psychological. Prepare. Ryuzyuk, don't let anything happen. Tsunade looked at the terrifying demon-like Black Susanna, and her heart was full of worries about Ryusuke Yagami. Although Ryusuke Yagami had awakened her great-grandfather's wood release, after all, the time for awakening was still short. Her strength is simply not comparable to that of her great-grandfather. At this time, it is still an unsolved mystery whether Ryusuke Yagami can cope with the existence of Shura Uchiha Madara, who is no less powerful than Zenjin in the ninja world. But there is a high probability it can't be beaten. That's why Tsunade is particularly worried. Kakashi-sensei, is that also the power of the Uchiha clan? Naruto swallowed with a gulp. To him, the Black Susanna before was already very scary. But compared with the 600-meter-tall Susanna in front of him, it was not on the same level at all. The other party just stood there, and the terrifying sense of oppression that hit his face made him feel like giving up resistance and surrendering directly. Let alone a real fight? Naruto very doubted whether he could have the courage. Dash forward. How could I know? Kakashi smiled bitterly. Although he also has a Sharingan, he is not from the Uchiha clan. This Sharingan was given to him by his friend Obito before he died. He didn't know about the Uchiha clan at all. What does ultimate power look like? Naruto asked him, and he wanted to ask others. Ryuzyuk. In the distance, within the territory of the Hyuga clan. Hinata and the others standing on the roof looked at the scene in the distance with worried faces. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. Next to him, as the leader of the Hyuga clan, Hinata Hisashi also felt that his hands and feet were a little weak at this moment. Hinata Hisashi always thought that he knew everything about the ninja world. But everything that happened tonight made Hinata Hisashi feel like he had never truly understood the ninja world. The Cage level is the most powerful person in the ninja world. So what do these two in front of me count? Extraterrestrial visitors? Whether it's Menma Uchiha or Ryusuke Yagami. The power displayed by the two of them was inhuman. At this time, Menma Uchiha showed the ultimate power of the Uchiha clan. Even across such a long distance, Hinata Hisashi couldn't help but tremble in his calves. If he were allowed to face such a giant, he might not even have the courage to get close, let alone take action. Don't worry Hinata, Ryusuke won't lose. Xiangren said on the side. She looked confident in Ryusuke Yagami. Sister, brother-in-law will definitely win. Hyuga Hanabi, the child next to her, also has unprecedented confidence in Yagami Ryusuke, her brother-in-law. However, Xiangren said this because she saw part of Yagami Ryusuke's strength and had some inexplicable confidence. And Hinata Hanabi's words. She is purely blindly confident in her brother-in-law. After all, my brother-in-law is invincible. Ever since the last time he saw Ryusuke Yagami killing everyone, Hinata Hanabi had already regarded Ryusuke Yagami as an invincible existence in her little heart. Even though the Black Susanna looked extremely scary now, Hinata Hanabi still had full confidence in her brother-in-law and did not think that her brother-in-law would lose to him. After hearing the two comforting words, Hinata also nodded. Well, Ryusuke will definitely win. Hinata said seriously. Seeing the three of them having so much confidence in Yagami Ryusuke, Hinata could not help but laugh bitterly, thinking that it is true that the ignorant are fearless. They have no idea what the Uchiha clan is. The ultimate power, right? Hinata thought to himself. Very good. Teacher is okay. Sasuke looked overjoyed. Especially after seeing the demon-like Susanoo displayed by Menma Uchiha, his heart was filled with longing for his future. If he also had such power, then will killing Uchiha Itachi become very simple? After all, no matter how strong Uchiha Itachi is, can he still defeat such a terrifying demon-like complete body 623? I'm afraid it can be done with one hand knock him out. I want to be as good as my teacher in the future. Sasuke couldn't help but yearn for it. And Fei next to him heard Sasuke talking to himself and rolled his eyes speechlessly. Come on. That's a complete Susanoo. Do you think it's cabbage on the roadside? Can an Uchiha have such power? Stop dreaming. Of course. A Fei will definitely not say these words directly. After all, he is playing a Fei with a funny personality, not Uchiha Madara, nor his Ukaway belt's oil. The complete Susanoo. Ryusuke Yagamai, who was standing on top of the wooden figure, looked at the huge monster in the distance and couldn't help but smile. It's really hard work, but the consumption of this chakra is not small. What Susanoo consumes is not only the pupil power of the Sharingan, but also the chakra in the ninja's body. If there is only pupil power and there is not enough chakra, it cannot be used. Or Susanoo the body size will be relatively smaller to save the consumption of chakra. Why is Uchiha Madara's complete Susanoo so strong? It's because he not only has the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but also the chakra in his body is the only one in the ninja world. The existence inferior to Senju Hashirama. Of course, ordinary Uchiha cannot do it. But that is Madara Uchiha. The reincarnation of Indra Chakra, can ordinary Uchiha compare with him? Fortunately, I poured 100 shadow level chakra into the Zanmyo clone before. Otherwise, after this fight, the chakra would have been almost consumed. Ryusuke Yagamai thought to himself. 100 shadow level chakra is not much for him. Now the chakra in Ryusuke Yagamai's body has soared to an inhuman level. His basic chakra is just it has exceeded the shadow level by dozens of times. Almost 30 times. Plus the increase in various entries. The amount of chakra has already exceeded the shadow level by thousands of times. Come Senju Hashirama, well, in terms of chakra, he is far inferior to Ryusuke Yagamai. If we compare who has more chakra, looking at the ninja world, they are all younger brothers. Ryusuke Yagamai is already the only one in this regard. Therefore, give it to me, the 100 shadow level chakra clones are just a little bit of chakra for him, and have no impact on himself at all. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 169. The wooden clone has worked so hard, I can't fall behind. Yagamai Ryusuke said in his heart, and then he patted the wooden figure under him with one hand, instilling extremely huge chakra into the wooden figure's body, and at the same time shouted in his mouth. Wood escape. Super Wooden Man's technique. The name is very simple. In fact, it is a jutsu that Ryusuke Yagamai created after briefly modifying it on the basis of Bokuto no Jutsu. Compared with the ordinary wooden man's art, the difference between the super wooden man's art and the ordinary wooden man's art is that the chakra required is larger, which is almost 20 times that of the ordinary wooden man's art. This is why people like Ryusuke Yagamai, who have so much chakra that they can never use it up, develop this kind of ninjutsu. Otherwise, the chakra needed to create a 100-meter tall wooden man using the wooden man technique would already be several shadow levels. 20 times more? That's 60 or 70 shadow level chakras. Who can afford it? In other words, Ryusuke Yagamai, who has a chakra of 1 or 2,000 shadow levels in his body, can use this level of technique at will. With his recovery ability, he consumes 60 or 70 shadow level chakras, which is only 1/20th of the chakra. He recovered within minutes. There is no need to worry about not having enough chakra. As Yagamai Ryusuke was instilled with even greater yang release chakra, the wooden figure under him also underwent horrific changes. First, the size began to increase dramatically, and then the originally solid wooden body also showed traces like armor on its surface. The originally slightly bloated head was covered by a layer of wood like a helmet. Make this super wooden man look extremely sacred and majestic. At the same time, a pair of huge wings grew out of the super Bokuto's back. This was a change made by Ryosuke Yagamai in the style of complete Susanoo. Finally, a 1,000-meter-long piece of wood snaked around the super wooden man's body. The dragon's head poked out from the right shoulder, and its ferocious dragon eyes stared coldly at the perfect Susan in the distance. Boom! The ground collapsed, obviously unable to withstand the tonnage of the super wooden man. However, after collapsing for a certain distance, the compacted earth finally bore the weight of the super wooden man. That is, the art of wooden man. Oh my god! Is this the giant who created the world? Goodoo! What's so strange about this? Are they really ninjas? A group of Konoha ninjas standing in the distance on the outskirts of the village, and even some spies from other countries lurking in the village, were all stunned with fear at this moment. Some people simply softened their legs and knelt down on the ground, paralyzed with fear. If the 100-meter-tall wooden man only surprised them before, then this super wooden man with a height of nearly 800 meters really scared them all. Even Tsunade, who had seen her grandfather perform the Bokujin Jutsu, was so scared that his pupils were trembling at this time, let alone other people. On the cliff in the distance, Suzuki, who was still happy just now, at this time the smile also froze on his face. Afei next to him was not much better. He was so frightened that he could not speak. What the hell is this wooden man? What the hell is this Mudon? Obito, who was disguised as Abi, roared in his heart. He had never heard of this wooden man who was bigger than the complete Susanoo. In the past, the last time Uchiha Madara was alive during a period of time, he once showed Obito his peak power in Genjutsu. At that time, Obito was also relaxed and happy, imagining that he could have such terrifying power in the future. But even the complete Susanoo in Uchiha Madara's peak period was only about the same size as the black Susanoo in front of him. Compared with this super wooden man technique performed by Ryosuke Yagamai, it's completely the difference between children and adults. The 600-meter-long perfect Susanoo was already frighteningly big, but standing in front of the 800-meter super wooden man, he looked a little thin. However, it seems that my assumption about the super wooden technique is correct. It was actually the first time for Ryosuke Yagamai to use the super wooden technique. Although he had developed this wooden release ninjutsu before, he had never used it once. Now that I use it, the effect is truly extraordinary. This guy is almost as big as Senju Hashirama's real Senju Hashirama. This is because Ryosuke Yagamai's wood release is a weakened version of Senju Hashirama. If it were the original version, coupled with the 350% bonus of the entry, as well as the bonus of his immortal body and vitality, the effect would be even more explosive. Of course, purely in terms of size, if Ryosuke Yagamai summons the complete Susanoo, he will be much larger than the Super Bokujin or the True Thousand Hands. After all, the wooden clones without entry bonuses summoned the 600-meter-tall complete Susan. If it were Ryosuke Yagamai himself, he would be 5 times larger than this size. It's directly the 3,600-meter-tall Susan. 3,000s of hands stacked together, they are still not as complete as Yagamai Ryosuke Susanaka. If Susanoo like that was used, wouldn't it scare the opponent to death on the spot? A sword strike, directly splitting the ninja world? Ryosuke Yagamai thought about it and really thought it was possible. After all, the Tensagan's Golden Wheel reincarnation explosion can split the moon, so it shouldn't be impossible for Ryosuke Yagamai's complete Susanoo to split the ninja world, even if it only splits a layer on the surface, right? As expected of his true form, this super wooden man is too terrifying. Uchiha Menma, holding his hands and standing between the eyebrows of the perfect Susan, could not help but feel speechless after seeing the super wooden man in front of him. Now, the battle between the two super giants is really going to be devastating. Menma. Uchiha thought with a smile in his heart. Immediately, he drove the complete Susanoo to fly directly. After flying to an altitude of several thousand meters, he dived directly towards the super wooden statue on the ground. The man made a slash that could destroy the world. The black sword energy struck, and the super wooden man raised his head. Under the helmet, a pair of eyes with golden light were as emotionless as a god watching the ants on the ground. The next second, the super wooden man directly punched out, and the wings behind his back shook. Boom, the terrifying wind swept across all directions like a shockwave. People more than 10 kilometers away could not open their eyes. The super wooden man flew. One punch shattered perfect Susanoo's sword energy, and then he flew high into the sky with unabated strength and punched complete Susanoo. Boom! 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 The sound in the sky was louder than thunder. Roars that were dozens of times more terrifying kept coming. The two behemoths obviously had such terrifying huge bodies, but they were still able to possess extremely fast speeds. If they hadn't been so big, the people on the ground below would probably be I can no longer see them clearly. Horrible. Fortunately, Lord Yagami deliberately took the battlefield away from the village. Otherwise, I feel that even from a distance of more than 10 kilometers, the aftermath of the attack would have destroyed the village. The ninjas of Konoha were shocked, but they were also thankful in their hearts. If Ryusuke Yagami hadn't deliberately taken the battlefield away from Konoha, let alone these buildings on the edge of the village right now, I'm afraid the entire village would be destroyed. Just like when Pain attacked the village, it turned into ruins. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. At this time, the battlefield between Super Bokuto and Perfect Susan has been moved to 10,000 meters high in the sky. It is 60 or 70 kilometers away from Konoha, and it is still moving away from Konoha. Although it is so far away, the huge noise of the battle can still be heard clearly here. Even just after the battle during the outbreak, some people's eardrums were shattered. Blood flowed down the ears. Signal. This kind of injury is not a problem for Konoha's medical ninja, let alone Konoha still has Tsuna. With hand, the strongest medical ninja in the ninja world, it won't be a problem. Otherwise, after this battle, Konoha may have hundreds of new deaf ninjas. A few minutes later, boom. Thousands of meters high in the air, a terrifying attack flew over the sea, flew nearly 100 kilometers away, and directly exploded an island on the sea that was as large as the country of waves. Amidst the rumbling roar, the water continued to flow. Were swallowed into the black hole. It took a few minutes to fill the black hole. On the other side, in the air of 10,000 meters, Yagami Ryusuke and Uchiha Menma were beaten all the way from the country of fire to the country of water. Time also stopped. It's almost done. How much chakra is left in your body? Ryusuke Yagami removed the super wooden man and asked the wooden clone in front of him. About 10% remains. The wooden clone replied. I'll give you another 100 kg level chakra in case you don't run out of chakra. Ryusuke Yagami said, reaching out and pressing the wooden clone's body, sending him the past 100 shadow level chakras. Don't use all of Susanoo's power at will in the future. Chakra consumption is too serious. If you must use it, remember to come to me to replenish chakra after use. Ryusuke Yagami ordered to the wooden clone. Okay, ontology. The wooden clone nodded and said, then I will take Uchiha Sasuke away now. Well, go ahead, and remember to build a few more ninja villages, but don't do it yourself, those ninjas are used to create hostility. Ryusuke. Yagami nodded and said. I know this, so I'll meet the real person next time. After the wooden clone finished speaking, Jianfei Thunder God's technique disappeared into the sky 10,000 meters high. Here, they are not afraid of being monitored by Ju. After all, 10,000 meters high, nothing can be seen from the ground. Ju can't do anything. Air escape. Therefore, the communication between Ryusuke Yagami and the wooden clone will not be spied on in the sky. It's time for me to go back, otherwise they should be worried. Ryaja Yagamai said, and disappeared in an instant using the Flying Thunder God technique. The ninjas in Konoha and the village stretched their necks one by one, looking forward to the horizon in the distance. At this moment, brush. A figure appeared next to Naruto. It was Ryusuke Yagamai, who teleported directly back from the sea using the Flying Thunder God technique. Ryusuke, you are back, Naruto said in surprise. Haha. I knew Ryusuke boy would be fine. Jiraiya laughed, but in fact he was also very worried just now. After all, the strength shown by Uchiha Menma was too terrifying. If it weren't for Yagamai Ryusuke, he felt that that guy could push the entire tree flat by himself. Yeah, no one can stop that guy at that time. Fortunately, God opened his eyes and allowed them to have such an invincible strong man sitting in Konoha. This saved the village from being destroyed. I'm fine, Li Qianzhao, but I couldn't keep that guy either, Ryusuke Yagamai said. Just be fine. Tsunade checked Yagamai Ryusuke's body and made sure that he was not injured, and then breathed a sigh of relief. As for not leaving that Uchiha Menma, that's nothing at all. That guy is so strong, if he wants to leave, it's normal for Ryusuke Yagamai to be unable to stop him. No one would blame Ryusuke Yagamai for this problem. Unless it's Sabi. However, 2 of Konoha's 4 great Sabis are dead now. The remaining ones are the 2 of them have become much more at ease. Now they don't dare to jump out to show their presence. The others are all people with normal minds. It's too late for them to worship Yagamai Ryusuke. How could they blame him for not staying? That Uchiha Menma? On the other side, shortly after Yagamai Ryusuke came back, Uchiha Menma's figure also fell from the sky and landed next to Sasuke and Fei. Teacher, are you okay? Sasuke asked with concern. It's not that Sasuke and Menma Uchiha have developed such a deep relationship after only meeting 3 times. But now whether Sasuke can become stronger depends on Menma Uchiha. Of course he doesn't. I hope Menma Uchiha is fine. It's okay, that Yagamai Ryusuke can't hurt me yet, Uchiha Menma said lightly. However, Fei on the side still saw a trace of fatigue that Uchiha Menma deliberately concealed. It seems that Ryusuke Yagamai is more powerful. Damn it! What is going on in Konoha? Why? Are there always such unreasonable monsters appearing? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 170. Obito was very depressed. With Ryusuke Yagamai here, how can he capture the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? It seems that in the future, we can only take action when Ryusuke Yagamai is not in Konoha, or when the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is not in Konoha. Anyway, as long as Ryusuke Yagamai is still with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Obito will not dare to let people from the Akatsuki organization come to Konoha to collect the Kyuubi. Aren't you here to die? Although he only uses the people of the Akatsuki organization as tools. But the tools are not used up yet, and of course he will not let these tools be scrapped in advance. When Obito was observing Menma Uchiha was also observing him. Haha, does this show that I am very weak now? Very good, let's just misunderstand it, so as not to frighten you, the old man, from taking action. Uchiha Menmaxen said. He deliberately pretended to be weak just to show off to Obito. This is also the order of the main body. Otherwise, with Obito's somewhat timid character, I'm afraid he would have to hide again and continue becoming his 6th child. To be honest, Yagamai Ryusuke was really in a state of high spirits today. He accidentally showed a little too much power. It scared some people. For example, Uchiha Obito in front of him. Another example is Mito Kato and Koharu, who had planned to plot against Ryusuke Yagamai. They were both frightened by the strength shown by Ryosuke Yagamai and Menma Uchiha tonight. However, in fact, what Ryosuke Yagamai did tonight, the strength shown is far from his peak strength. Whether it is the complete body of Susanoo, the wooden clone, or his super wooden man. In fact, it is the strength of the super shadow peak. That is, Uchiha Madara during the Battle of the Valley of the End, the level of strength. It is slightly worse than Senju Hashirama, but not by much. And Ryosuke Yagamai's real peak strength is actually turning on the Sage mode and then using Susanoo Daibutsu. That's him, the real peak combat power. Much more powerful than what he showed tonight. It is the power of the real Six Paths level. Of course, Ryosuke Yagamai does not have Six Paths chakra. But his destructive power has reached the Six Paths level, and it is the middle level among the Six Paths levels. The Six Paths level also has different levels of strength. Before awakening the Eternal Kaleidoscope in 590 and obtaining the entry for the container of the Samsara Eye, Ryosuke Yagamai's destructive power was at the early stage of the Six Paths level, close to the middle level. And after awakening the Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan, after obtaining the entry of the container of the Samsara Eye, its destructive power has reached a level slightly above the middle stage of the Six Paths level. This is just destructive power. At the life level, Yagamai Ryosuke does not have the Six Paths Sage body. There is no Six Paths chakra. It is far from as powerful as a real Six Paths level powerhouse. But his immortality is not bad. Next, what Ryosuke Yagamai has to do is to fuse the chakras of 7 attributes, and he is born develop the Six Paths chakra and truly enter the realm of the Six Paths. This step will take a lot of time. But if his eyes can evolve to the Samsara Eye, it can save a lot of time. He can enter the Six Paths level faster. Achieve the goal of reaching the 6th level of life. After that, Yagamai Ryosuke plans to go to the inside of the moon. On the one hand, he will transform the words on its Sutsuki Tonari. On the other hand, he will also seize the huge reincarnation eye. Take a look. Is there any way to make Hinata's Byakugan evolve into the Tensagen? As for its Sutsuki Tonari, this guy has been eyeing Hinata for a long time and wants to marry Hinata. For such a guy with evil intentions, yeah, naturally, Kami Ryosuke will not leave him alive. When the transformation of the entry is completed, he can just kill him. It won't take much effort anyway. And after the Tensagen matter is settled, Yagamai Ryosuke himself will have nothing to do. It's done. But Menma Uchiha still needs to do things in the ninja world. Help him get more entries. It will also further improve the attribute value of the entry Public Enemy. At present, the attribute value of this entry is still very low. But its future is promising. Menma Uchiha, along with Suzuki and Fei, have left Konoha. On the other side, after returning, Ryosuke Yagamai first went to report to Hinata and the others that he was safe, and then I was called to the Hokage building for a meeting. In the conference room, everyone present is the mainstay of Konoha. Sitting at the top is naturally Tsunade, the 5th generation Hokage. Then the first seat on the left is Yagamai Ryosuke, followed by some of the ninja clan leaders. Sitting in the first seat on the right side opposite is Jiraiya, and behind him are the 2 old guys Mito Kato and Koharu. Ryosuke, first let's talk about Menma Uchiha's strength. Tsunade saw that everyone had arrived, so she turned to Ryosuke Yagamai and asked him to introduce the specific strength of Uchiha Menma. After all, among them, Ryosuke Yagamai was the only one who really interacted with him. Hand over. As for what they said, it was just being played with cat and mouse by the other party. It's embarrassing to say it. This Uchiha Menma is indeed very strong. The destructive power of the complete Susanoo is much more terrifying than that of the tailed beasts. Although I have never met Uchiha Madara, the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, I think this Uchiha Menma's strength is, he is no longer inferior to Uchiha Madara, Shura Uchiha in the ninja world back then. Ryosuke Yagamai didn't say much. He just used Uchiha Madara as a comparison and briefly described Uchiha Menma's strength. Hearing this, everyone present nodded in agreement. If that kind of strength can't be compared to as for Uchiha Madara, how powerful should Uchiha Madara be back then? Anyway, they think that it should be the ceiling of the ninja world. Fortunately, they also have Ryusuke Yagamai, who is equally strong. Just like Madara, Uchiha was the same as Hashirama Senju back then. If any of them were missing, it would be a disaster for the rest of the ninja world. What is the perfect Susanoo? Are there any levels of Susanoo? The Shimura clan leader, who was sitting in the subordinate position, couldn't help but ask. The Shimura clan was not completely liquidated after Danzo's death, but it was also severely suppressed in terms of strength and welfare. The new leader who had just taken office was the leader of the Shimura clan, also sat at the end of the conference table. He was like a little transparent. The same goes for the clan leader of the Sarutobi clan. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Not much better after all. When Ryusuke Yagamai stole the Book of Sealing, he killed many elite ninjas of the Sarutobi clan, resulting in a considerable loss of high-end power of the Sarutobi clan. In addition, the top management of Konoha has changed. And he obviously doesn't have a good relationship with the Sarutobi clan. The Sarutobi clan leader also doesn't dare to stand out and just wants to keep a low profile. When he heard the Shimura clan leader speak, the Sarutobi clan leader sitting opposite him couldn't help but be surprised. He glanced at the other party and thought, how dare this guy speak in such a meeting? Doesn't he know how much these people present hate the Shimura family? If the Sarutobi clan died, Tsunade after taking office, his status is not as good as before, and the benefits he can get are exploited layer by layer, leaving less than 1% of the original ones. Then the Shimura clan is much worse than them. Because the Shimura clan a dishonorable death. In addition, Shimura Danzo had offended too many ninjas in the village. Although the Sarutobi clan is disliked by others, it is because they took too many benefits in the past, which is a conflict of interest. Now that the benefits are handed over, the ninja clan will not do anything to them, Byaku. On the contrary, considering the face of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the late Hokage, these ninjas were somewhat polite to them. At least there is a sense of politeness. But the Shimura clan is completely different. Even though the Shimura clan has given away all their profits and 90% of the clan land has been confiscated, leaving 10% of the houses. In the past, one person could own several houses, but now several people have to squeeze into a small house. Inside. But even so, these Shimura clan ninjas will still be targeted by other ninja clans when they go out. It ranges from making fun of and making things difficult for someone, to making excuses to beat them up. Many ninjas from the Shimura clan would go to Konoha Hospital every now and then, but the doctors and nurses at Konoha Hospital didn't have a good impression of them either. Their movements during treatment were rough. Although the injury was healed in the end, the pain during the process was not less. Logically speaking, the Shimura clan is like this, and as the clan leader, they should keep a low profile. I wish no one could see me. Why would you take the initiative to ask? Isn't this asking for trouble? Facing the puzzled eyes of the Sarutobi clan leader, the Shimura clan leader sitting opposite seemed not to notice it. Instead, he stared at Ryusuke Yagamai above him with burning eyes. Yagamai Ryusuke also looked at the Shimura clan leader with some surprise. To be honest, the Shimura clan can still exist in Konoha because of Tsunade and the others' mercy. He could be allowed to participate in such a meeting because Tsunade had been Hokage for too short a time and had not had time to plan a new Konoha senior team. By the time she made her plans, only her own people would be able to come to the meeting. People like the head of the Shimura clan, Sarutobi, just stayed wherever it was cool. Don't wander around in front of their eyes if you have nothing to do, so as not to be an eyesore. The so-called complete Susanoo is the final stage of the Uchiha clan's ultimate pupil technique, Susanoo. In addition, Susanoo has 5 forms, from the initial primary form to the first and second stages. Form these, until the complete body form position. Although Yagami Ryuzyuk didn't understand where the Shimura patriarch had the courage to speak here, he still answered the other party's doubts. After all, if he didn't ask, others would ask. Regarding Susanoo, the Uki, only a few people here understand the ultimate power of the Wave clan. Tsunade has the background of the Senju clan behind her, so she should understand this. And Hinata Hisashi is the leader of the Hyuga clan, and Hinata is known as the Senju Uchiha. The third largest clan naturally has a full understanding of the old enemy Uchiha. So it is possible that they know some distinctions about Susanoo. But others? To be honest, even Jiraiya probably doesn't know much about it. After hearing Ryuzyuk Yagami's explanation, everyone here suddenly realized. It turned out to be the final form of the ultimate power of the Uchiha clan. No wonder it is so terrifying. However, no matter how terrifying the power is, it will still be beaten by Ryuzyuk Yagami in the end. He ran away. So they don't need to worry. Anyway, if the sky falls, there will be tall people to hold it up. Facing an enemy of this level, it is not their turn to worry about a group of elite jounin. It is enough for them to mind their own business. That's it. This time Uchiha Menma appeared in Konoha. The reason was because of Uchiha Sasuke. About this Uchiha Sasuke, Tsunade said, looking at Kakashi, "Kakashi, do you have anything to say?" Hearing this, Kakashi also smiled bitterly, and then said Sasuke has always wanted to avenge his tribe, so for in pursuit of power, he became a disciple of Menma Uchiha. I am responsible for this matter because I did not teach my students well. No, Kakashi, this matter has nothing to do with you. Sasuke's character is like this. He can pay any price for revenge. This is not something you can change. Ryuzyuk Yagami said. Ryuzyuk is right, this matter is not your fault, you don't need to blame yourself as the Hokage. Tsunade also expressed her attitude at this time. There is really nothing to blame Kakashi for this matter. After all, Uchiha Sasuke insists on following outsiders, and they can't stop him, right? However, since Uchiha Sasuke has chosen to betray the village, the needs time to issue a wanted order for him. Let's tentatively offer a reward of 10 million, and list him as the village's a rebel ninja. Tsunade thought for a while and gave a fairly suitable price. Although Uchiha Sasuke is only a genin, he is the last Uchiha in the village. For the sake of emotion and reason, the word Uchiha for his own sake, we can't give a price that's too low. So 10 million is quite appropriate. As for the traitorous ninja, it's actually just a title. It's also given for the sake of the name Uchiha. Otherwise, Tsuna, if you give him a B at most, it will be awesome. This. Kakashi wanted to plead for Sasuke, but seeing Tsunade's cold gaze above him, Kakashi swallowed the words that came to his lips. This time is very different from the original situation of Sasuke's defection. Not only did it cause such a big commotion, it even involved a terrifying enemy like Uchiha Menma. So, no matter what, Sasuke's identity as a rebellious nin cannot be escaped. Even if Jiraiya begged for mercy, Tsunade would not agree. Not to mention Kakashi. Moreover, Jiraiya was not familiar with Sasuke, so there was no way he could plead for him. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 171. The matter of Uchiha Sasuke's defection was decided like this and could not be changed. Ryuzyuk Yagami didn't say a few good words for Sasuke either. Because it's not necessary. They have all defected, so what will happen to a traitor? What will happen to his identity? What's more, the arrangement that Ryuzyuk Yagami gave Sasuke will make him a crazy and trouble-making character in the ninja world in the future. It's normal for a character like this to be a rebellious nin, right? On the contrary, if Sasuke is not a traitor to Konoha, he will cause trouble outside and provoke a lot of enemies. What if people can't find Sasuke and come to Konoha? How troublesome that would be. Therefore, it would be much easier to just declare your identity as a traitor. Anyway, Sasuke will grow very fast in the next few years, so there is no need to worry about him being hacked to death outside. Even if Ryusuke Yagami leaves him alone, his dear brother will not ignore him. The meeting was over. Ryusuke Yagami yawned and went home to sleep. Although it is already dark now. But he doesn't have to get up early tomorrow, so what else can he do if he doesn't go home and sleep? As a result, as soon as he came out of the Hokage building, he saw Kurane Yoi standing not far away as if waiting for someone. "Sister Hong, why are you here?" Ryusuke Yagami went over and said hello. A few words. Yoi Hong also said when she saw Ryusuke Yagami coming out. "Okay, let's talk while walking, and stop by Sister Hong's house to sit for a while." Ryusuke Yagami smiled and nodded. So the two of them walked towards Yoi Hong's house. "Ryusuke, do you think I'm useless?" Zihe Hong suddenly asked. "Ah? Why does Sister Hong say that?" "Sister Hong, you are amazing. The cooking is delicious, and he is already a jounin in the village at a young age. He is so beautiful, how could it be useless?" Ryusuke Yagami looked at her and didn't understand why Yoi Kurane asked such a question. What stimulated her? It couldn't be me, right? But you are younger than me, and now you are an elite jounin in the village, and you are as strong as a monster. Compared with you, I feel like a waste. Yoi Hong looked at Yagami Ryusuke and said. "Sister Hong, I'll just assume you're complimenting me, but next time please don't use the adjective monster to compliment others, it sounds weird." Ryusuke Yagami said with a wry smile and touched his nose. "However, Sister Hong, you don't need to compare with me. Look at Hongdu and Xian. They are similar to you. In terms of strength, they are not as good as you. As Sister Hong said, my growth rate is obviously beyond what normal people can achieve. If you insist on comparing yourself to me, it will only hurt your self-confidence." Ryusuke Yagami didn't understand why Kurane Yoi suddenly compared himself. He didn't see other people comparing themselves like this. If he really wanted to say this, 99.999% of the ninjas in the entire ninja world would have to commit suicide on the spot out of shame. But me? Yoi Hong looked like she was about to speak but hesitated. Ryusuke Yagami looked at her, and suddenly seemed to understand something. "Sister Hong, what I said last time still stands." Ryusuke Yagami suddenly held Yoi Kurane's little hand with one hand, and gently rubbed the back of her hand with his thumb. Yoi Kurane instantly blushed to her ears, lowered her head and did not dare to speak. The two walked in silence. We are almost at the door of Yoi Hong's house. I have arrived." Zihe Hong was still shy and spoke much softer. "Do you mind if I come in and sit for a while?" Ryusuke Yagami said, pulling Yoi Kurane directly towards the house. Kurane Yoi raised her head and glanced at the back of Ryusuke Yagami in front of her, and did not refuse, so she was pulled into the house by him. "Sister Hong, are you sleepy?" "A little bit. So how about we do something to lift our spirits? The sunset is red." As soon as they entered the room and sat for a while, Yagami Ryusuke took Yoi Kurane's hand and looked down at her. Yoi Hong lowered her head in embarrassment, not daring to look at him. To be honest, Yuhiko took the initiative to find Ryusuke Yagami tonight, and she was mentally prepared. But when the matter came to an end, she felt a little hesitant again. However, at this time it is usually the boy's turn to take the initiative. You can't expect every girl to have Hongdu's personality, right? Therefore, Ryusuke Yagami, who had seen through Yoi Kurane's thoughts, took the initiative to hug her, then picked up Yoi Kurane and walked towards the room upstairs. "Ryusuke, Anko, she. Anko must be asleep now." Then Hinata and the others. They have gone to bed too, Sister Hong, we are the only ones who have not gone to bed tonight. Yoi Hong buried her head on Yagami Ryozyuk's chest and stopped talking. This night, many people in the village had insomnia. Some people did it because of the devastating battle before. Some people are worried and scared. Some people are too excited to sleep. Certainly. There are also those who are busy doing other things and have no time to sleep. Yoi Hong had imagined countless times what her future husband would be like. He may be a great hero who will save himself from danger in desperate situations. He may also be a handsome guy with super good looks, who charms thousands of women and finally falls under his pomegranate skirt. He might also be a philandering scumbag who would sweet-talk a girl to make her happy. He would be so obsessed with her that he would accidentally reveal it to the other girl. However, the reality is that the other party combines all her fantasies. He is the unparalleled hero who saves the village from danger. Another handsome guy, his looks are the best in the ninja world, no one can match him. But he is also a playboy and a scumbag, with a lot of girlfriends, and he always likes to flirt with women outside. He already has a group of wives and concubines at a young age, and there is no telling how many more he will have in the future. However, Yoi Hong found that she did not regret giving her most precious thing to the other party. Tonight, when she watched Ryo Yagami and Menma Uchiha fight in a decisive battle outside the village, and the fight was devastating, she suddenly felt regretful in her heart. Do you regret why you were so hesitant before? As ninjas, they are actually people who may not have tomorrow after today. Today's hesitation may turn into tomorrow's regret. At that moment, Yoi Hong figured it out. In fact, what does age matter? Since Hongdu doesn't care about age. Yagami Ryozyuk himself didn't care that she was older than him. What else does she have to worry about? Do you care what other people say? But if you force yourself to make a decision that you don't like because of other people's words. So who are you living your life for? For those strangers. Yoi Hong wants to live for herself. That's why she stood outside the Hokage building waiting for Ryosuke Yagami to come out. That's why she didn't reject Ryosuke Yagami at this moment, and even gradually took the initiative to cooperate. Although he is unfamiliar, he works hard to cater to her. The sky is over, the sun is rising. Time passes gradually. The streets outside began to become noisy. But that didn't bother the two people in the room. The closed window and the drawn curtain seemed to block out the outside world. Until about 9 a.m. Ziri Hong gradually fell asleep. She is too tired. I didn't sleep for an hour or two last night, but something like that suddenly happened. 5 or 6 tiring hours now. She needed a good rest to regain her energy. Fortunately, if you want to read exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. Their 8th class took over today's mission yesterday. Even if she, the leader of the team, is not here, Hinata and the others can complete this simple D on their own. Level tasks. After all, it has been experienced hundreds of times. Those who have been proficient for a long time can no longer be proficient. Even though Yagami Ryozyuk had worked hard all night, he felt refreshed and did not look tired at all. He went to the bathroom to take a shower, and when he came back, he covered the sleeping Yuhiko with a blanket, and then he turned and left Yuhiko's house. Today was his first day as the leader of Team 10, Jonin, and he couldn't be late. Training ground number 2. 3 people from class 10 have already arrived here in advance. Shikamaru, do you know who our new teacher is? Ino asked Shikamaru next to her while yawning. She didn't sleep well last night. As soon as she closed her eyes, she saw the scene of the battle between Ryosuke Yagami and that Uchiha. That kind of power that destroyed the world made Ino unable to do anything. She fell asleep, then she fell asleep in a daze, and she didn't know what time it was. Then she was woken up by the alarm clock she had set. So if she calculated everything, She actually only slept for 4 or 5 hours last night. That's all. And it's segmented. No wonder I'm sleepy now. I don't know either, but it must be a certain jounin in the village. Shikamaru also looks sleepy. But he looks like this every day, and it's not the first time. Next to him, Koji is still eating breakfast. His breakfast is very long, and he often eats one meal for half a day, a whole day eat 3 meals. In other words, eat the rest of the day? Okay, the people in the Akimichi family seem to be pretty much the same. They eat all day long. Their family secret technique requires this, otherwise the secret technique will be used once after that. You have to lose weight to skin and bones. It would be terrible if you kill yourself directly. Therefore, all the ninjas of the Akimichi family are fat. But occasionally, they will lose weight, that is, when they go too far. After using the family secret technique, but it usually only lasts for a period of time. You will soon become a fat man again. Koji, is your rice ball delicious? Ino touched her stomach and felt a little hungry. She just ate a little breakfast and hurried over. She wasn't full at all. Do you want one? Chuji generously handed a rice ball to Ino. Okay. Ino took it, opened the outer wrapping paper, and ate it with big mouthfuls. It was obvious that she was really hungry. Just as the three of them were sitting on the ground waiting for the new leader teacher, Ryusuke Yagami also appeared silently on a tree behind the three of them. Yes, they all came quite early. Ryusuke Yagami smiled slightly, and then appeared in front of the three of them. A gust of wind picked up more than a dozen leaves. Then Ino and the others saw an additional person in front of them. Yeah. Ryusuke. Ino stood up in surprise, and quickly ran over and threw herself on him. Ryusuke, why are you here? Ino asked overjoyed as she hugged Yagami Ryusuke. I am your new leading jonin of class 10. Yakami Ryusuke smiled and patted Ino's back and asked her to come down. After all, Shikamaru and Koji were still watching from the front. But Ino has long been used to having sex with Yagami Ryusuke in front of his two friends. She didn't feel embarrassed at all. However, she still let go of Ryusuke Yagami obediently, but she kept holding his hand and wouldn't let go. Ryusuke, you said you are our new leading teacher. Shikamaru is also not surprised. He may not be used to it at first, but after seeing it too much, he will get used to it. In contrast, he was even more surprised that Ryusuke Yagami would be their new leader. It's not that Ryusuke Yagami is not strong enough to be a leading jonin. In fact, after yesterday night, everyone in the village already knew the terrifying strength of Ryusuke Yagami. Let alone being a leading jonin. Even if he is. As an ancestor, no one objects. But they are classmates who graduated from the same class. His classmate became his leading jounin? Shikamaru felt weird. Yes, are you surprised? Is it surprising? Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile. Shikamaru. The accident was quite unexpected, but not surprising at all. Instead, it felt a bit awkward. Ryusuke, shall we call you teacher from now on? Dingji finally swallowed what was in his mouth and asked. Haha. You don't need to do this. You can still do the same, just give me your name. Ryusuke Yagami laughed and said, as expected of Koji, he is indeed very upright. When Ryusuke Yagami said there was no need to call the teacher, Shikamaru secretly breathed a sigh of relief. To be honest, he couldn't say it out loud. Ryusuke, are you really our leading jonin? Ino looked happy. Ryusuke Yagami has become the leader of their 10th team. Doesn't this mean that they can be together every day in the future? Ino, don't be too happy.